Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've made a video. I'm still working on my comic slash animation series. It's going pretty good, making good traction. I might be able to get the first part out in a little while. Still working on it, like the backgrounds and the coloring. The characters are all fully colored. Of all the ones that are going to be in here, the first episode, they're all got their colors and everything done. But for today, that's not what I'm talking about. Today, I'm talking about Howard Wimhurst's new, I say months late, animation course. Basically, it's taken me a while to compile everything because I've had to ask people for access to theirs, and they were so kind to give me access to it. Thank you to one of the people on Discord for that. Um, Now, there's 15 chapters in it, and one of them it's the introduction. It doesn't really have much to go on. Not much to download. But I would like to preface that uh, Howard is now selling the course for 500, whereas before when he started out he was only selling it for like 300. More than likely, after a good while, he's going to bump it back down the price. He tends to do that a lot. Where he just tries to find the best price adjustments to get people suckered in. This is also a course I have literally extensively gone through, all the way up until kind of close to the end. He's kind of got a trial thing going on where, like, you have to, I guess, buy the payment. You have to pay for the course, and then after 30 days, which is inexplicably when the parent site says you are no longer able to get a refund, ironically, just so happens to be when the rest of the lessons roll out. So basically, you're going to be screwed if you decide you don't like it near the end, but there's so much extra content that's just locked off. There's entire chapters locked off. So you're paying for 15 chapters. You do not get 15 chapters, at least in the beginning. You have to wait a whole entire month. He piecemeals off his lessons so that way, even if you do refund, you only got like 2/3 of the course, which I'm hoping the person that was able to give me access, I hope they get a refund. But yeah, that sucks. But I guess I'll just go through like the start of it. We're gonna go through some videos that I was able to download, and some other things that I was not able to download, but I'll talk about them anyway, and we see how it goes. So I guess we'll just start with the introduction page. So in it, Howard offers like free, I put free in quotations, portfolio reviews as options. They're not free because you have to take into account that you have to literally pay him hundreds of dollars just to be given the portfolio review, which is, I think, is asinine. Why would you do that? You can literally just get free reviews just from, like, I don't know, sending it out to animation studios or people that do animation on YouTube if they're kind enough. You don't need to pay Howard for that. It's kind of a waste of money. So when it came down to the courses, some chapters had, I believe there was 15. Some had downloads, others didn't. And the bigger picture chapter has no download, and it's like 2 minutes long, of Howard essentially just telling young people that they should show their parents animation isn't a waste of a course by using this business quote correctly, unquote. The dream of the animator is simply a minute of Howard telling people that he loves his job and that he is a professional animator. Amateur animators are those who work a side job or full-time job while still working on their animations. This is merely what he says in the video. A waste of time of course, for people to spend good money on. I mean, if you ask me. I disagree with his statements. What about those who work on their animations think it kickstarted to a career by working on a series of current projects or get donations or Patreons? I know the lady who worked on her No Evil series for the past decade on YouTube. She was basically got her stuff funded through a book and then Patreon. And she was also working a side job. That doesn't, I wouldn't necessarily say that she was doing it for like a hobby. She just didn't have the funds to make her series at first. Same thing with the creator of A Fox in Space. I believe he was actually a pest exterminator while working on his pilot. He was working on his pilot, go out, kill some bugs or whatever. Then he'd come back and work on the pilot again because he needed something to keep him alive while he was doing it. But I mean, does that make him an amateur by Howard standards? He's not still doing pest control. He works entirely off of his Patreon, and he also lists live streams of it often of him just working on it. And I believe he's already gotten episode 2 out of A Fox in Space. He's working on 3. It took forever for 2 to come out, but that's because, as everyone knows, animation takes time, and it's literally just him working on it, I believe. But that's an aside thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with what I'm talking about here. Next, that he shows, it's a simple glossary of terms that he will give. He gives quizzes in this. He gives quizzes in the album. He also I believe he makes you do a stupid essay for some reason, but here are all the words you need to know. Brand, the customer or client's perception of your product or service, which is distinguished from other products or services. Personal brand, the public's perception of you as a person. Prospect client, someone who needs information with their project who could potentially become your client. A prospect client only becomes a client when money has changed hands. Before that, he or she is a prospecting client. Client, someone who you are in a formal work arrangement with. A prospect client becomes a client when the client's money is successfully returned into your bank account. This is what changes a prospect client to a client. Okay, I don't understand what he's talking about when he says, I understand fully what he's talking about with the definitions. What I don't understand is why he feels the need to even list them. What do you care? Prospect client and client, as he lists in this, dear God, some people should not be allowed to have their own courses he considers what he does here to be like a school and him to be a teacher. And oh my God, it's awful. I don't know if any one of you spend money on anything in here, but I wouldn't, because it's genuinely awful. Thankfully I didn't have to. But basically, there's prospect client and client are literally just the exact same definition, but just reworded. He could literally just cut out prospect client, and then he would be. It would look less stupid. Commission. Who doesn't know what a commission is? For Christ's sakes, it's the internet. A project for which the client pays you to contribute towards or produce entirely. It only cuts as commission if the client is paying you. Well, yeah, commission brief. A commission brief is typically the first formal email the prospect client sends to you. It will typically contain essential information about the project they would like you to be involved in, such as the runtime deadline, desired art style, relevant examples of what they're looking for, and introduction about the company or individual who is contacting you. It's just the message that they give you. Oh, hey, could you do this for me? Like, I want a character that like shoots like mini robots to attack a bigger robot or some crap. Could you animate that for me? I'll pay you 2 Smagolios if you can do that. And that's basically what he's talking about. And it's stupid. Why would you list it as a definition? He acts like these are like business terms. Like you just like, oh, if you don't know it, oh, you're screwed. But you know what a commission is, for Christ's sakes. Come on. Everyone does. If you're trying to get into the business of animation. B2B, business to business. If your business serves other businesses, your business could be categorized as B2B. B2C, business to consumer. If your business serves people, your business could be categorized as B2C. Speculative work, sometimes abbreviated spec work. Client might ask a creator to do some free work before an official deal has been made as a way of proving they're capable and suitable fit. Would be like what you would be kind of like when the Spindle Whores, Vivzy Pop's animation studio, they would have people go out and do basically you show people your work, or you could also fill out an animation download or something that they would give you, and you had to basically show your work on how you animate. Basically, it's like an interview process, but without the words. You basically have to show them you're capable of doing it. Gross earnings / profit is the total amount of something before deductions. Again, unless you're talking about, I don't know who could be going to his business course in animation and not know what gross or net profits are. I mean, for Christ's sakes, who does he think exactly he is like teaching here? Really, 5 net profits, the amount remaining after deductions. The last thing before the quote test unquote is something called further rating, which is simply a bunch of books you could purchase for further business instruction. Makes one wonder why they didn't just buy these books instead of the course, right? The so-called glossary is simply 5 simple questions. Can be bothered to have a set of questions equal to the definitions you list in the glossary of 2 minutes worth of reading. You can just skip the questions. I don't even know why, if he can't even be bothered to put in the effort into like giving you questions or quizzes or all that crap. I don't understand why he doesn't just get rid of them. This is what I'm saying when I say he's like not a teacher, because there's nothing to engage with the questions. There's just regurgitating the same information you just saw. Like, not even that you saw a day ago. You just got done reading it. What? Why do you need to retake it a test on something you just saw? That's like me asking you, Billy had 5 apples, and then the second, like a couple minutes later, you get down to the bottom of the page, and you're like, pop quiz, how many apples did Billy have? It's baffling that anyone can make a course on this and not have any sort of like education, like teaching history. He's not a teacher. He's not. And if you buy his course, which it looks like at least 100 people have, oh God, I hope you got it on discount. Yeah, I don't want my money back for that. Seriously, because this is bad. It's really bad. Next part is all the stupid calculators. Oh my God, he had an entire video thing dedicated to these stupid things for his live stream. And he goes on and on about how they're his work and all that such. Proprietary crap. Like, he spent so much time on them. So basically, the calculators are all embedded into the course, meaning you have to sign in to use them. How practical is it to use calculators when all you can do is send the results to your email because Howard wants to make a profit off of them? Two of the calculators are strictly UK based, meaning you get less value if you don't live in this country. Half the time, they barely even load into the system. And you have to, like, on the page, when you try to use the stupid calculators, because I tried to test a couple of them, you have to, like, keep refreshing the course page, like, 5 times till you get a result. It's, like, extremely buggy. It's not like he's a coder or anything. I doubt he can go in and, like, maybe he can ask the site admins if they can, like, help him with the errors about the pages not loading correctly or all that crap, but I'm doubtful he's doing that. So whilst the calculators do have some algorithms and stuff to set them apart from a standard calculator, you can't take them with you off this page. I really have to like restate that as much as I can. The most you can do is simply send the results to your email, which show a scanner of whatever you input in the results. Nothing really fancy. Howard here lists these calculators as some grand design, like they're totally worth the entire price in and of themselves, of like the $500 for the course, when all he did was download a template from Calconic. Calconic, it's a site where it literally states you can choose from a bunch of ready-to-use templates of calculators without any prior programming knowledge. These are not cutting-edge calculators or whatever. They were merely cut out from an app website. It's an app website. Calconic, spelled Calconic. Type into Google, it'll bring it up. That's where I got it from. Anyone could do what he did. Hell, I can do what he did right now if I feel like, I guess, buying them. He says he plans to make a subscription service off them and that they are his proprietary tools, as if he patented them or something. He doesn't own these calculators. He does not own Calconic, which is the actual owners, and the calculators are their proprietary tools. He got a license to use them. And I don't even know if I really call it a license, really. He doesn't own these calculators, not in any true sense. The lowest annual price for the Calconic calculators is genuinely free, and the highest is a massive wallet bleeding total sum of, hold up now, $44 a month. Now, I'm pretty sure he's not paying the $44 a month to keep these calculators. More than likely, he just used the free one, or like something in between. I also remember Howard saying something about how he was going to try in his live stream before the animation business course, Turning Pro, whatever thing came out, that basically he was going to see about trying to make a subscription service for the calculators, which is probably like the scummiest way of monetizing your business. Like, God, any way he can think of to monetize, like in the worst ways possible, he will do it. NFTs, I'm sure he's probably tried crypto or some kind. I know he's tried NFTs because I've made previous videos on how bad they are. I think he might even still have them up, or maybe he got rid of them. Who knows? His hoodie line, which is whatever, most YouTubers do that. Although getting in with Logan and Jake Paul for a Pokemon card NFT is something else. But basically, any scummy way you can think of to monetize, Howard will try it. He will, because he's greedy. Speaking of that, this next chapter is basically called Love Hustle, and it goes over what, before I get into chapter 2, it goes, because there's 15 chapters in total, it goes over basically how you should want to be a little bit more greedy. So, here it is.
I think I prefer making money to spending it. And yeah, I wonder if I can share that enthusiasm with you. I want you to love the hustle. Hopefully you do. But I think if you are not motivated, if you find yourself being a bit unmotivated by this whole thing, and you're reluctant to go along with it and to start a business from animation, and you're thinking, maybe if I can just scrape enough to get by in this animation career, maybe then I'll be able to make animations and just get by and just survive. My recommendation is to invite just a little bit of greed. Invite a little bit of greed into your life.
And he doesn't invite just a little bit of greed. He invites a lot of greed into his work, because that's how he funds his projects. That's why he doesn't have to go and get a job or anything. Basically, he just spits out these animation courses, and people just lap him up. Do they get anything out of it? I'm very doubtful. I'd be amazed if anyone actually ends up getting a job because of Howard Wimshurst and because they learned from him on how to animate. All of his courses are like $500, always 500, 300, 200, whatever that. It's usually around the 300 to 500 range. And what the only times I've ever seen him like limit this is when, I don't know, I guess he gets desperate. So he piecemealed off one part of his course for like $75. I'd already made a course review on that. And it was basically nothing. It was just a waste of time. So he not only does he want to invite a little bit of greed, he also does not want to put much effort into these. Like you said, he's an animator. He's not a teacher. You're not going to learn anything from him. And just to like give you a demonstration of what I mean, I'm going to be playing one of his courses and then one of another animator's courses that you can find on here, Tunica Patoya. You're going to see the difference between the two. Okay, so we're going to start off with Howard.
Hey guys, it's Howard here, and I have a video for you, which is the first video in Mastering Motion, which is my new advanced course in 2D animation. When students come into the course, they typically get quite overwhelmed with the amount of information they have access to now within Mastering Motion. So this video is a rundown of the curriculum, chapter by chapter, step by step, so that you can see what you're learning and in what order. This is for you to see on YouTube as well, so that you have a detailed view of what you would be getting if you decide to join the course Mastering Motion. So that's the video. I hope it gets you excited for learning more about 2D animation, and I'm gonna roll the video now. All right guys, I am going to give you today a breakdown of the course curriculum for Mastering Motion. Part of why I've added this in is because I understand that when you first enter the course and there's 160 videos laid out in front of you, it can be very overwhelming to just know what exactly you're looking at this big list of videos. So let's start with the introduction. So first of all, I've laid it out in a chronology that
And then we're going to go ahead and take a look at Tunica Patoya's course.
My name is Tanico Pantoa, and I am a hand-drawn animator, a story artist, and a director of my own productions. I have done work for DreamWorks Feature Animation, DreamWorks Television Animation, Tonka House Studios, Cartoon Network, Strange Weather Films, Studio Le Cachet, and Big Idea Entertainment. I am well known for my short films Serenade to Miette, Crayon Dragon, Wolf Song, and Tiny Nomad, which was nominated for Best Student Film at the 42nd Annie Awards of 2014. I have also worked as a mentor, a speaker, and a presenter, speaking at expos, workshops, and conferences internationally. I have both experiences in major and independent studios, although I see myself leaning more on the independent side. After about a year and a half working on a do-it-yourself video course, I am proud to announce the initial release of my complete Introduction to 2D Animation video package online. The whole package is now on sale within my online store. I made the course as a collection of personal notes that have helped me learn hand-drawn animation and for people to use on their own time when they want to learn 2D animation. So what's in it? What's included? The complete Introduction to 2D Animation is a package that contains a series of videos containing lectures, discussions, demos, and advice regarding hand-drawn animation. There's over 25 hours of video content, with an estimate of 12 gigabytes for the whole project. There are 4 chapters. Chapter 1 is an introduction chapter where I talk about learning hand-drawn animation, animation terminology, animation software you can use, how to read a timing chart and exposure sheet. There's also a 45-minute to an hour part of the 12 principles of animation and a discussion for each of the principles. Each video also talks about how to practice each of those principles. Chapter 2 are demo and assignment collections that focus heavily on basic fundamentals of animation. These are classic assignments animation teachers usually give their students to introduce each of the 12 principles of animation and how to utilize them. They also introduce new concepts. Each assignment has 2 main videos, a summary of me explaining and discussing key lessons from each assignment, and a full process video of me animating the assignments from beginning to end. So for those only seeking for the key lessons of each assignment, there's an option for you. These also contain the original TV Paint project file, but I've also given an option where you can import image sequences into any animation software in case you don't have TV Paint. Chapter 3 is a collection of animation lectures where I talk about animation-related discussions such as dialogue, acting, movement, animation process and structure, techniques, and drawing for animation. I talk about valuable concepts that you can use for your animation and the many approaches in the different styles and how you can achieve that same goal. Chapter 4, like Chapter 2, is a collection of demo and assignment collections that now introduce character animation with the fundamentals of animation. Acting and performance is now considered in these videos, as well as other character-oriented mechanics. This is a very hefty packet containing hours of demos and lectures.
So when you compare the two, there are snippets I've taken from various pieces of courses they've done. One of them was Tanika in the beginning doing a fight scene, and the one with Howard's was of his interpretation of doing a fight scene. Now, if you look at both of them, you'll clearly see which one just looks out and out better. And when I did the previous course, the one that was $75, that was literally all about fight scenes. It was just him tracing and using a bunch of boxers as the tracing materials. He didn't reference them. He simply used them to trace. Like the characters that he made looked 1-to-1 the same as the wrestlers. Now, if you look at Tanika Patoya's stuff, you'll see a lot of it is not. It's referenced because he does say use real life references and such, but it's not anything in regards to like just out and out plagiarism, just like trace, because there's one thing. The difference between referencing something and tracing it is the fact that if you're tracing it, you've done nothing with it. You've not transformed it at all. If you're referencing something, you're basically putting whatever poses you see onto your character, but that's just it. Howard doesn't do that. Howard just likes to go the easy route when it comes to like teaching or just animation in general. He disregards faces. He disregards the subtle emotions of a character. Howard's characters look like they have no emotion to them. The only emotion I see is when he's added like sad music at the end, or like they're like striking a pose or something. Whereas Tanika Patoya, you can clearly see, just look throughout all of his little bits of work that he's showing you in the animation course that he's giving out to people, and you can clearly see the difference between the two. I shouldn't have to like be very subtle about it. Like you can clearly see the difference. And on top of that, you don't need to pay Tanika Patoya an excess of how many courses does he have right now? 3, Howard. He's got a grand total of like 3, and I think they total out to around, I don't know, like 1,500, 1,300, something like that. Because he's got mastering motion, the basic beginner animation course, and then he's also got animation business course. And I've gone through the animation business course, and it is literally worthless. It's awful, genuinely awful. And then he's selling you that for like hundreds of dollars. And when you look at Tanika Patoya's, if you go onto his page, the course he's got, and it shows you how to do dialogue, run cycles, reference, everything you could possibly need under the sun to be someone that works in the 2D animation industry, because he's got tons of studio works. He's like a Cartoon Network, A bunch of other ones I didn't really pay attention to. But you can go back in the video and see and scroll through, and like he'll list the animation studios he's worked at, which he's also won film festivals as well. So it's not just Howard that can win awards. He did too. His course is only $350. That's like the least amount Howard will sell any of his courses for. And even then, that's only like a limited time thing before he bumps up the price like he did with the business course. But anyways, let's just go back to the previous lesson, Love Hustle.
Think of things you like and want, just nice things. You can invite a little bit of greed into your life in many ways. You can go window shopping in that nice part of town with all the fancy shops and just have a look around, see nice things. I'll tell you what I used to do. I made this custom wallpaper, which was like a collage of all these nice things that I wanted. One of them was like a speedboat. There's this speedboat, which is great for wakeboarding, and it has like underwater lights. It's just kitted out. It's like a sports car, but on the water. I'm never going to get one. It just doesn't make any practical sense. I don't live near the coast, but I just love the idea of wakeboarding on my own speedboat and having a speedboat. So I had that picture. I would see it every day. Every day when I logged onto my computer, I would see that picture and just be like, that'd be nice. I had a bunch of different pictures, just a collage of things that I aspired to. Maybe I'll show it here if I'm not too embarrassed. But I think that's healthy. I think a healthy amount of greed, just a little bit of greed, is going to help you in your career, in your artwork, in everything. If you take care of the money, then you essentially buy freedom, the freedom to work on whatever you want.
I want everyone to just keep in mind, this is literally directly from the lesson. Love Hustle, it's from it. This is gated content. $500 to hear him spout on for an hour. Not for an hour, for a 1 minute and like 30 seconds about how you just need to invite a little bit more greed into your life. I think it's good for animators. You paid him, or I guess not if you're hearing this video, you would be paying him to hear him talk about this. It has nothing to do with anything. I hate how he like in his courses, a lot of the time, he puts in this motivational speech crap and it serves no purpose. You learn jack all. It shouldn't even be included in this. If you're a teacher, why would you include in a motivational speech to your students? That's odd. They're not there to get a pick-me-up from you and a slap on the ass and a good job sport. They're there to learn. What did you learn? What are you learning from this? Tell me, what have you learned? What will you have learned when it gets done? Because I'm only like a little bit halfway through it. He's making you. He's just telling you how it goes. He's like, I'm greedy. I'm going to get as much money out of you guys as I can, and then I'm just going to go back to working on whatever I want to work on. Screw you. You're not going to get any. You're not going to get a degree from it. You're not going to network with anyone from it. You're not going to get a job from it. You're just going to end up paying this schmuck like $500 for nothing. And you wouldn't have even gained anything from it. You're not going to be a better animator by the time you're done. You're not. You just won't.
I don't understand why that's not appealing to many artists. Why is it not appealing to artists? The idea that you can achieve a level of financial freedom where you can work on your own projects for indefinitely, forever. You can retire early, and just work on your own passion projects. Why is that not appealing, that idea, to animators? I don't know why. Maybe they're just setting their horizons too low. They're not aspiring enough. But I hope you find that, especially when it comes to selling products and things, later on I'll talk about it in the course, but I hope you find early that it can be super fun. It's really enjoyable to make money and to think of new ways to increase your earnings. It's a lot of fun and it's fine to do. It's good for you and it's good for everyone. So here's a little bonus exercise you can do. You don't have to do this, but it might be fun if you want to do it. Create a custom wallpaper for yourself. Make a collage on your computer desktop on the background that you're going to see every day and have it as images you like. It can be sports cars if that's your thing. It can be a brand new animation desk setup that really inspires you.
Again, this is your teacher, quote unquote. What have you learned? Because there's all the other ones that he goes through.
you just keep in mind, like, he sets the price. Like, it's not an arbitrary thing. Like he sets it, you know. He didn't have to make you pay $500. He chose to, because he wants you to pay him $500. That's just it. There's nothing stopping him from charging like $50 for this, or $100 or whatever. And I'm not even saying that'd be a good value, but at least, you know, it'd be less just awful. Like, I don't know what else to describe it. It's just an awful way of like treating your like YouTube audience, because all of them come over and they're like, I want to be like Howard. I want to work on music videos with Logan and Jake Paul. They're like super cool guys, and and then, you know, that just doesn't. That's not going to happen, because those people don't have the audience. They don't have the YouTube subscribers. They'd have to build a following. They'd have to get better at animations. And again, like I said before, Howard is only good at special effects. You can clearly see in all of his work that his character animation is just awful. And his business degree, his business course, what exactly are you going to learn from Howard flipping Wimshurst? The dude, not to be rude, but he still lives with his parents. You know, I mean, there's only so much you can get out of that. He doesn't, you know, what are you going to get? He doesn't own a house from his animations. He doesn't really keep himself alive off of his animations. He keeps himself alive off of making these like bullcrap courses that other people get suckered into. That's what keeps him alive. That's why he keeps making these stupid things, because people are gullible enough to come in and pay him. He could even charge $1,000. I still bet people would come in and do it, and it'd just be dumb. But he just wants your money. You will get nothing in return. I have literally looked over, like, at least, I guess you could say, like a couple $100 worth of courses, depending on who you ask and if there's a sale or not, of his courses, and they're I can't express how little value is in them. It's just him talking to you on a screen, and the work that he puts in for his animations, he's not even putting in full work. He's just like, the only thing he puts in full work in is the special effects. Everything else, he just traces. He just traces everything, because he's not referencing it. He's not adding his own little, like, touches and like spins to the, you know, stuff that he's referencing. And he doesn't even reference that good, because his characters don't go anywhere past stick figure men. There's no facial expressions in there. There's no, you know, you don't see any emotion from the character. Even in his new short, Ember, you don't even see any expression from the character. He's just like, that character is a nothing character. It's a nothing burger, because just honestly look at him. Do you see any? The only emotion you get is from the physical action and the music, and I guess the Phoenix. Anything past that is just kind of there. I mean, he can't do a humanoid face that's like crying or happy or mad or any other sort of action. Just same as flipping live. And so, I mean, if you're here for character animation, I would go somewhere else. And if you're here for a business course, well, I would definitely go somewhere else, because he doesn't make much money, except for off the business animation business courses, which he's getting to scam you guys into buying. So why would he teach you how to do that? But yeah, that was just the introductory little lesson, I suppose. I don't even know why I called it a lesson. It's not. Let's just move on to the next one. Chapter 2, I suppose.
Okay, I'm going to use this video just to introduce to you my calculators. So I have a number of calculators on this course, and I'm collecting them all here in this area of the course for you, but you will also find those same calculators scattered at different points throughout the course where they are relevant. But for here, they are all collected here for your use, and I just want to introduce the benefits to why you might want to use them, and a little bit about how they work. I love updating them for you guys, so I'm always open to suggestions. You can leave a suggestion in the comments for how to make them better, but basically, they take what you know. They will ask you questions, basically, and you can set in what you know about your animation project, about the specifications, and from that data, they will create calculations that will tell you what you don't know. So they use what you know to determine the answers for what you don't know.
It changes from what you know to what you don't know. The calculator. None of this sounds very, what's the word? Intellectual. It sounds like he's talking to a 5-year-old. Like teaching them how to use a calculator. What you do is you put in the number 4 plus 4, and then because you know what 4 plus 4 is because you just typed it in. Now, if you just press that equal sign, you'll find out what you don't know, which is the answer to 4 plus 4, which is 8. Or like he's talking so simply about it, but then he's also trying to make it sound more complicated than it is. Dude, it's a calculator. Like, you don't have to like go into extreme detail. Everyone knows what a flipping calculator is.
It does this using pretty simple napkin mathematics. The reason I call it napkin maths is because you could do this maths yourself, a lot of it. If you have a pretty basic understanding of maths, and if you had the patience, you could do this maths by yourself on the back of a napkin. If I was a dishonest marketer, I would be telling you that this was using AI, it's using machine learning, the state-of-the-art cutting-edge technology, but that's not the truth. Yes, it does use certain algorithms, it does use certain equations, but they are not complex. These are things that you could do by yourself if you had the time and patience.
And didn't feel like shelling out $500 for,
You don't need super advanced knowledge to do these calculations for yourself if you want, but it's still more convenient to use these calculators. These calculators are quite good for you to use when coming up with, let's say, a quote. Let's say your client requests a quote based on, they have the deadline for you and they have the scope of the project, how large of a project it is, right? They give you that information and then they ask you for a quote of how much it will cost, okay? Using what you know, you can put those two factors into the triangle calculator, which is a very useful calculator that I created for this course. It's going to do some napkin maths behind the scenes and it's going to spit out an answer for recommendations for what to charge for that. You might know how much money you want to make in a year, and it's going to use that, do some napkin mathematics to find out what you don't know, which is the rate you should charge for per second or per hour of work. So one of the benefits of this is that it's emotionally detached. The calculator doesn't care that you are really worried and anxious about securing this commission because you really want it. The calculator doesn't care. The calculator also doesn't care that you might be greedy and be thinking of, oh, maybe I can get a little bit more out of this. The calculator doesn't care. The calculator is a calculator. It's just doing the maths. So that's really nice because it's an unbiased opinion. It's taking your greed and your fear out of the equations. Two things that really distort our abilities to behave rationally in the world of business. Also, I have thought long and hard while making these calculators. I've really given it a lot of thought. And as I've considered things about your project that you might have never considered. Some of these calculators, you'll find they reveal hidden costs that you had not considered before. Maybe I want to pad that out with 20% just in case of contingency time or contingency costs. Oh, I hadn't thought to include software into my expenses there for running studio. Things that you might have forgotten about at certain points. This reveals the hidden costs. So it's a good educator, it's a good learning tool to learn what is involved in either the price, the cost of something, or in a schedule. I've got a schedule calculator that will outline a schedule timeline for you based on the deadline that you have. It will tell you when you should be finished with pre-production, when you should be finished with production, post-production, and whatnot. As well as that, it's going to give you extra stages in your animation production that you might have forgotten about. You might have missed them out. So it's going to reveal hidden costs. It's going to reveal things that you might have just forgotten about, not considered before. It helps you to think faster. So yes, you probably can do the napkin mathematics to a lot of these calculations, but it's going to take you time. You're going to have to get the pen and paper out. You're going to have to think about it. And why would you want to do that every single time you have a new client?
Why would they want to go to your course? Okay, keep in mind, when you use these calculators, you don't get to use them whenever you want. You literally have to log back in every single time to his stupid course to be able to use the calculators. That's how they work. They're embedded. You don't get to take them with you. The only thing you get out of the calculators is at the end of it, you get to spit out the equation. And then you can email that. The results to your email. That's what you get to do. You don't get to take them with you. They're not just something you can quickly get through. No, you have to go back to his stupid course. And if you decide you don't want the course after a while, well, good. Well, congratulations. The calculators you might have wanted, you just paid for, you don't get to take those with you, they're gone. Of course, saying that, you could also just get it through Calconics. Just go to the site. That's where he got these from, man. They're free. Literally, they're free.
Why rehash things? Why reinvent the wheel every time when you can think way faster, way more effective? You can think faster, plan faster. And when you do that, you spend less time on the business and you spend more time animating, which is what we are, right? It's what we do. We animate. So don't spend unnecessary time on the business of animation. When you're an animator, you should be animating as much as you can. So it helps you to think fast. Another reason to use calculators is that you can run test scenarios. I love running test scenarios. I love thinking to myself, what if a client did come along with a $100,000 budget? Okay, it's good to run those scenarios, and calculators help you do that easily. It helps you just run a quick test of, okay, well, how would I divide that budget if I was in that situation? Learning before you find yourself in that situation where you are in a high-stakes negotiation where there's loads of money on the line. Okay, you want to prepare for that by running these scenarios before they ever happen to you. And it improves your intuition in that way. When you run a bunch of these test scenarios, you're able to actually gain a kind of intuition. You're going to have a ballpark estimate, even without the calculators. Once you've used the calculators a bunch of times, they're teaching you every time, you're learning. So you can get these kind of ballpark estimates where you say to yourself, you know what, for a 5-minute documentary insert, that's not a lot of money. I just know that from playing about in these calculators a lot. I just know that's not a big budget. They're coming in low for that. So how do I manage that? What can I do to try and bring them up or to try and downsell them to make the project more manageable for me? You can start to develop this intuition once you've used the calculators enough times. And the other thing that I'm really proud of with these calculators, I know that I said they're emotionally detached, but for people who want it, I've actually embedded within them my advice. This is something super cool, I think, about these calculators, is that with many of these calculators, there's a little feature which will have color codes. It will tell you, for example, with the yield calculator will actually optionally give you my opinion in case you want it. It will tell you, that's a really good yield. Well done. This is a good yield. This is my idea of having a great yield with your animation. Or, hey, by the way, just so you know, in my opinion, it's a bad yield. I would try and change something about it to make it a better yield. I would try and reduce the runtime, or I try and increase the budget, or change one of these factors so that it's not such a bad yield. I have made it so that this is the equivalent. Sometimes this can be the equivalent to having a consultation session with me. In a consultation session, you would give me the details, you'd give me the numbers of what the client has said, and then you'll tell me your quote, and then I'd say, I think this is my opinion if you want it, right? That's what would happen in a consultation session. I've written it into the calculators. So these calculators, all in all, even though it's napkin maths, and it's pretty simple maths, you find that there is things about it that can be very, very valuable for your business, for your animation business. So yeah, that's my calculators. That's a little introduction to them for you. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you think. I'm looking forward to reading your comments if you leave a comment below one of the calculators or in the Discord group. And yeah, that's the end of the introduction to calculators. Now, let's go have fun with these calculators.
It's almost like baffling how much he can squeeze out of something as like benign as a calculator. Look, you do not need this course. I'm going to keep saying that. I've already gone through it. The only parts I haven't gone through was like 3 chapters out of the 15, because you have to have had it for like 30 days, which is exactly, ironically, when the you wouldn't be able to get your refund anymore. So after you're no longer able to get the refund, that's when you actually get access to the complete course. Before that, he's timed you out. It's before that, it's basically a probationary period, because he does not want you to resend your money. And this is literally it's a nothing. It's a big old pot of nothing. Like, throughout the entirety of this, you don't really get, all he's telling you about is how great the calculators are. This is why I like to say he's a narcissist. I don't know if he's a narcissist. He could not be a narcissist. But for crying out loud, he makes something, he could talk about like bread. And then he would try and hype you up about bread. With this piece of toast, you no longer will you have to worry about what are you going to do with your slice of ham. That slice of ham, that will be turned into, from just an ordinary lunch meat to a nutritious meal that is packed with protein and carbohydrates that will be able to sustain you. And with that, you will be able to animate better. You will be able to circumnavigate the animation world, because while other animators are eating stuff like chips and soda, you now have bread. And with this bread, you're going to be able to maximize the power of your brain, because unlike all the other people, you will have non-empty calories. Like that's literally that's basically what just occurred. with him and his stupid calculator talk. It's just calculators. That's it. And like, they're not even good calculators, because you have to get back on your computer or laptop or whatever. You got to log back into the site, and keep in mind, sometimes they don't even work. Like, you have to like refresh the page like a bunch of times just to get them to even do anything. And even then, sometimes they still don't work. Like there's like 10 of them. And I mean, hey, look, hey, if you think the calculators are worth a good price to learn from Howard, I can't. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think they are. He's literally telling you right here that napkin maths, you can just do it on your own. You don't need him to help you. And I don't even know what he's talking about. He's like, the hidden costs of being an animator. Like, what animator doesn't factor in their software unless they have free software? He's just talking about stuff like he talks to you like you're an idiot, like you don't know the first steps on how to do like a commission or something. But anyways, I guess we'll just move on to the next lesson.
So I've got this little trick here that I've developed for confidence, for inner confidence, that seems to work for me. So maybe it works for you as well. Because confidence is a very important aspect of running a creative business, I want to share it with you. So this has happened. Sometimes I might be not confident in what I believe, in what I've said, or the thing that I'm doing. And then I use this exercise. I learned animation from Richard Williams in his book, The Animated Survival Kit. Richard Williams created the animation in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He did an awful lot of stuff. And there are also lessons in the Animated Survival Kit from Milt Kahl, who is universally agreed upon as being the best character animator in history. And I learned from them because I read the Animated Survival Kit and I studied it. Now,
whenever I look at Howard Wimshurst's stuff, like, well, for one thing, bud, you did not learn from the people who made the Animated Survival Kit. You just read the book, okay? And might I suggest cracking open that book again, because your characters, you can't even really call them characters. Like, look at his newest short, Ember. That's not really a character. Like, I'm not, take away the music, take away everything about it. Like, it doesn't look like a character. It looks like just a normal, like, little humanoid thing. Like, I'm not able to like really grasp this person's like their personality, any like specific characteristic about them, maybe the time period they're in. Like, you can't really tell with Howard's characters because they're not characters. They're just like, they're poorly roughed out humanoid sketches that he wants to pass off as characters. Like, you've seen his designs, and for the most part, like, they just, like, that's why he sticks to special effects, because he really is not good at it. He can't really do it that well. And when it comes to his business, I'm not going to say that's much better either. But yeah.
I might not be confident in me, but I am very confident that Richard Williams knows what he's talking about. I'm very confident that Milt Kahl knows what he's talking about. And I learned from them. That's it. Think about it. Just hold it in your head and think about it. You can bolster your own confidence in your teachers. You can have faith in your teachers. You have faith that your teachers knew what they were doing and are using the lessons from your teachers. That's knowledge that you know, and you're putting that into practice. So that's a trick I have for confidence, for real inner confidence. If I lose confidence in my animation abilities, that's something that I can do. And also, of course, the other thing is the exercise of not thinking. Someone once said that wisdom is the opposite of knowledge, this unlearning. If you reduce information down to what matters, then that's wisdom. And I suppose that's true. If you're able to not think of something, that's great. So I typically don't think of whether I'm good enough. I don't question it. And I can put my confidence in lots of other things that are external, that are verifiable. One of them is the client came to me. The client talks to me about it. Why would the client come to me if the client didn't think I was good enough? There's no reason why the client would share this information with me and try and get me on board if the client didn't see that potential in myself, if the client didn't look at my showreel of work and identify numerous times in my showreel where I demonstrated the kind of quality he wanted or she wanted. So you can place your confidence in things that are not yourself. You can place your confidence in external factors that you truly have confidence in. Because
Oh my God! Keep in mind, $500 or $300 if you got it in the beginning. You paid hundreds of dollars to hear some schmuck tell you for 3 minutes, whatever it is, that you need to be more confident. Literally, what did you get? What business knowledge did you accrue from this little segment? Please tell me. I would love to know. People that took the course, people that comment. Just literally, I just played it basically in its entirety. Just tell me what you got out of this 1 minute snippet. Do you feel more confident? Is that worth the $500? This course is a joke. He's not a teacher. He's not licensed. He's not nothing. Not nothing any educational wise. He's just using this as a way to siphon money from you to him. Don't buy it. Don't fall for it. Literally. You get what was learned out of this. You need to be more confident in yourself. Oh, and that he also read a book. Oh, outstanding. Yeah, but I guess we'll just move on to the next one. Can I even say move on to the next one? This one basically was nothing. But yeah, we're just gonna move on.
In this video, I want to talk to you about the fine balance you need to play in your professional career between humility and confidence. If you've been to art school of any kind, or if you've had an art class, you have probably had this instilled in your mind. The idea of humility. Your art teacher will probably have taught you to be humble. And this is for a few different reasons. For one thing, a humble student is going to make efforts to learn because they believe they need the knowledge. Someone with a student mentality is going to listen to teachers, is going to listen to their advice. So that's the good thing about being humble. But there's a fine line between humility and insecurity.
There's a fine line between humility and insecurity. As I've said before, I honestly think this guy has some sort of like narcissistic personality disorder, because I don't know what he's talking about. He says like oh, there's people with like student mentalities, and I guess Howard would in lieu of having a student mentality, he would instead have a teacher mentality, a mentor mentality, something like that along those lines, which it just sounds like one of those alpha male sigma grind set kind of things that people would say to each other. It just seems kind of stupid. But yeah, you don't hype yourself up as an artist, because I mean, don't bash yourself either. You want to hit some sort of like equilibrium, like whatever you like about your work, you need to acknowledge that. But if there's some things about it that you don't, or people, you show it to other people and they give you constructive feedback and they tell you, well, I think this looks wrong. Maybe take that feedback and don't just like act like what they're saying is completely like incorrect and not your problem, and that's their problem if they don't like it, because that's Howard's mentality. Howard doesn't take criticism at all, not remotely, not slightly. Well, he's terrible at taking criticism. In the Logan Paul video that he did for like some sort of like Pokemon NFT crap, if you go through the comments, every comment that's like negative towards Jake Paul, he literally has gone through those, and basically he just like, whoever asked that, he just has like sour words for them in any regard. So and then also what happened with me, with all the comments he's left on mine just to just to
tell people like, oh, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know anything about animation and all that stuff. That's basically he can't take anything. And I don't believe he's much of a teacher if he is not even able to acknowledge what he does do wrong and just thinks everything he does is just like wonderful and glorious and just like God's gift to like animators.
And there's also a subtle difference between confidence and arrogance. There's such a drive towards humility within art institutions, and I've experienced it. It has consequences when it comes to confidence. From my experience talking to a lot of you, I've found that there is a confidence deficit in animation, with animation practitioners. That's a big problem when it comes to commission work, because in a way you need to demonstrate leadership and you need to demonstrate confidence in the commission with your client. If you don't have confidence in yourself, the client's not going to have confidence in you. So you actually need to be confident for the client to be confident in you. So you see how it breaks down there. All these students who have graduated art school and things, they come out of art school, it's been drilled into them that they're not good enough. They're inadequate. They don't have the skills and they don't know what they're doing. It's been drilled into them every day they've been at art school. They think they're doing the right thing when they come to the client and they're not being assertive. They are undervaluing themselves and they think they're doing the right thing, but they're not. They're making a really big mistake by doing that. These states of mind get transmitted between people. So if you're trying to direct a project with other animators on there and you're not confident in your own abilities, that's going to rub off on people. People are going to realize they're not going to be confident in you. They're going to lose confidence in the whole project. And the same can be said for the client. If the client picks up on the fact that you are worried that you don't know what you're talking about, the client's going to be worried and there will be no one to reassure the client. You might be asking,
yeah, one of the things I find really funny about Howard is that he doesn't really, he seems to believe that he's entirely confident but has no arrogance to him. And well, personally, I believe he's extremely arrogant. When it comes to like the art school, when he was talking about art school, about how every day it's drilled into people that, oh, you're not good enough, you'll never amount to what you aspire to be. He doesn't make it sound like very much of a university or school, like a teacher coming over and like handing out lesson plans or anything in college. He makes it sound like you're in some sort of like prison camp where you basically are just like it's a military school or something, where like they're trying to just tell you like, oh, get down and get on the ground and draw me 50 perfect circles, maggot. And that's just not what it is. I feel like the reason why Howard's saying that art school, all they do is demean you and just try to tell you that you're not confident, is because one, and this is the more important of the two reasons, is because he doesn't want you to go to university. He wants you to spend $2,000 on all of his courses, his overpriced courses that don't amount to much. It's just him basically speaking into the microphone and just cherry picking whatever he feels like he's really good at, and then that's what he gives off to you. Like, oh, I think I'm pretty good at fight scenes. I'll make an entire dedicated section to that. I guess I'm kind of good at camera movement. Why not? So that one of the reasons is he just wants you to buy from him. So he's just kind of gonna talk down to universities and art school and all that such. So that way it makes it, tell the people watching out there, it makes it seem like his stuff is more enticing. And he has said before that his courses are the equivalent of a 3 to 4 year school experience, where you have to spend many more dollars, but you also get, honestly, I feel like you would get a lot more benefit out of them. Or just don't take any courses at all. You can do that too. That works. Or if you are going to take courses, I would not take any from him. But that's my bias, I guess you could say. And then the second
reason as to why he's done tacking art schools is I know this is a theory. It's far reaching. I know. I just feel like maybe in school he was told that some of his stuff just doesn't maybe he was given a particular critique by a teacher, and that kind of stuck with him even after he graduated out of university, and eventually that just kind of like manifested itself into some form of like deep-seated hatred of the school system, because all he sees in it is just like everything that they told him that he was doing wrong, and then I guess he's just decided, well, I'm going to prove them wrong by taking commissions with Jake Paul and selling hoodies on my YouTube channel and doing very poorly referenced music videos. I'll show you teachers eat my shorts, yeah.
How do I become confident? It's all good me saying you should be confident, but how do I make you confident? Well, there are two approaches. You can fake it till you make it, and some people do that, and they are able to pretend to be confident. You can develop an alter ego and pretend you're that character. You can model yourself based on someone who's confident. That's one way of doing it. That's faking it. But the better way is probably to create your environment and your circumstances to where you don't have to fake it. You actually are confident. And that's what we're going to get into in this course. And essentially, I'm helping you to construct an environment where you can't help but be confident. So as an example, let's say you're nervous to have this call with the client. That's because of your environment. You're nervous to have this call with the client to talk about the project with the client because the client is the first that's come along all month. It's the only client you've seen this month. Would you be nervous if that was the 10th client that had walked through your door that week? Would you still be nervous? I don't think you would, because why on earth would you be nervous? There's another one waiting behind him. What have you got to be nervous about? If everything goes terribly wrong in that call, the next client will come in. So that's an example of true confidence. True confidence is confidence because of your situation, because your situation is good. Situational confidence instead of this fake confidence. You get there by doing the practical steps. I suppose art is something very subjective, and you can have like master artists and master craftsmen who aren't aware that they're really good at what they do. I think that's probably where the problem arises with confidence. Going back to the balance of humility and confidence, I would like, as you start to graduate and start going to commissions, to see a shift from this humility to inner confidence in your own abilities. Put it this way, if you spent 3 years in education and you have a flagship project, a film that is critically acclaimed, well, the time now has come for execution. You're moving to a different stage in your development as an artist where your main priority is to give the client a great experience of working with you. That requires confidence. Your other priority, of course, is to make money at this, and that requires confidence. It was necessary before that you had humility in order to learn, that you had a lot of humility. You should still have humility in that you're doing critical self-reflection on your own work and your own progress. You're being honest with yourself. But it's also very important that you spent 3 years learning the craft that your client didn't. You have 3 extra years of education over your client. It's 3 years that your client does not have. That's concrete. You should be confident in that. There's no reason why you should not be confident in that you have an information edge over your client when it comes to your craft, when it comes to animation. So that's the balance between humility and confidence in animation.
Yeah, I have no idea what he was going on about with that that tangent at the end about how you have like 3 years of confidence over the client when it comes to animation. Honestly, at this point, I don't really know if he's talking to whoever he's managed to like scam in like buying these knockoff courses with, or if he's just talking to himself, because he's talking about like you have 3 years of education for knowledge that the client doesn't have. I'm like, well, where the hell are they getting these 3 years from? They're not getting them from you, because evidently just from like taking your courses and like I guess going over them after like what, a month, you then have the equivalent of 3 to 4 years of college experience. So that doesn't make sense. If he meant that, he would have said, just take my courses, and then you have the equivalent of 3 to 4 years. But he's not saying that. He's saying you have 3 to 4 years of animation knowledge under your belt, which is to say you went to a university. So even he is even without directly meaning to, even he's saying it, go to university for animation, even if he doesn't mean to. He's still saying it, and his creating an environment for animation to gain confidence, and all that is, all he could muster up is, it's okay if this client doesn't work out because you've got like 16 others right behind him. I'm like, well, what if you don't? What happens then? So like, let's say you've only got, he's saying like, oh, you only have one client this month. I'm like, okay, but what if you what if you do only have the one client this month? What if you don't have like a bunch of people wanting to commission you one after the other after the other? And then also keep in mind, if you're getting commissions, they're expecting you to do this work like when they unless it's like over a course of time. So if you've got like, if you're taking 10 commissions every month, you have to get those 10 done. You can't just be like, oh, I got like 9 commissions going on, but I'm gonna add another 10th one on. No, you have to finish them in order, just so that you don't get backlogged with a bunch of people that have already paid you but they haven't gotten their stuff. So then he's just saying create confidence by just overworking yourself. If anything, that would stress you out and create like a hole in which you like feel so much pressure. It would make more sense if you were supposed to create an environment by, instead of faking it like Howard does, which is what he does, he fakes it. He fakes confidence. Eventually, I guess, when you start getting paid by it, I guess you become more confident through it. But if you're getting paid like whatever Howard is to make his crappy music video animations, I guess eventually you'll get better self-esteem about that. Although you're not exactly improving in your work now, are you? I feel like you create a better environment by, constantly growing, learning new techniques, getting faster at the commissions that you do get, maybe creating a space that you feel like you don't feel stressed in, like outside, taking outside pressures off that you wouldn't normally that would normally be on the table when it comes to making decisions, like maybe rescheduling an appointment you had to do or whatever for another day. If you know a commission's going to come up that day, you have to talk to someone. It's simple things, I don't know why he made an entire 3-minute course thing for strictly confidence. Again, this is padding. You'll spend $300 on this course, and one of the integral lessons that, again, I must keep in mind, is not gate kept behind a timed subscription. I mean, not subscription. It's a timed payment plan, where after 30 days, you would then, if you haven't gotten a refund, you then get access to the rest of the course. This is one of the things you get first off in the very beginning of the 30 days. This is one of the things you're getting up front to entice you. I'm sorry. Did you learn anything from this? Did you are you gonna like he did in a promo video for this? Is it going to increase your investments by him telling you to be more confident in yourself? Because it's not like he's hyping you up. This is just a pre-planned video that he did basically for himself, by himself, and not for you. It's padding, you know. I don't really know have any other way of describing it other than it's just fluff that he adds on to make it seem like there's more lessons than there is. There's no lesson to be gained here. Nothing. You did learn nothing from this. You learned more from like listening to me prattle on about, oh, you need to create a stress-free environment. There you go. Now give me $10 because apparently that's how much this thing was worth.
A little philosophy that I have that I wanted to add in here very quickly. Passion is effective. So if you're wondering if you should make a career move towards the thing you're passionate about, which I assume is animation, my opinion is that passion is effective. You're more useful to society doing something that you're passionate about than if you were doing something you're not passionate about. You just have more energy for it. You care more about it. You're willing to devote more for it. You're not just going to punch the clock at the end of your 8-hour shift and call it a day. You're going to stay up all night trying to solve this problem. And also, passion is a competitive advantage. If you're more passionate than your competition, you're going to be more driven. You're going to be trying to learn more. You're going to naturally soak up more about it. So if you're super passionate about this, that's a big competitive advantage. It will allow you to persist when others fade away. So hopefully you're passionate about this already. But if not, try and foster that passion. Yeah.
So basically, just tell me how much was that particular course part about passion? How much was that worth? Because I'm gonna keep saying this again. $300. If memory serves, it should be actually cost more because that was only the sale from when it first came out. So if anything, it'll probably be around $500 now. So how much money do you think it took? Like how much of a cost associated did you think it took for him to prattle on for 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes, like a minute and a half, to tell you that you need to be more passionate about animation? How much money? Like, because it was obviously free for him, and it probably could have been free for you, but unfortunately it's not. It's got probably a $500 price tag associated with it, or $300 when it first came out. So basically he just says in this one particular course, and you've heard it, you've seen it, it's just, you need to be more passionate than the other guy. Yeah, you got to have more passion, because passion is, of course, a construct that can be measured, and it has width and diameter and weight. So you need to just get more of that than the other guys that are around you. They could be passionate, but you need to have more than them. What an absolutely bafflingly stupid take. He should take this out. It doesn't deserve to be a lesson. I wouldn't even put it on his YouTube channel. I would just simply take this part out. If he would like to hear some constructive criticism from me, take it out, because it's honestly not helping it. It doesn't, the cost to benefit associated with what's one particular lesson, and also the confidence one, is really negligible, to the point where you're just like, it doesn't really seem to have a point. It just seems like he just likes to hear himself talk. Of course, it's just me, but take it as you will.
One thing you're going to have to get your head around if you want to be in business is that money is not evil. And I think that sometimes intellectuals and artists have that perception, and it really holds them back in life. Financial success does not need to be at the expense of others. That's the main thing I just want to get across here. It's very important that you understand that, because legitimate financial success comes from providing value to people. So hopefully in this course, I'm providing a lot of value to you. I'm always aspiring with these courses to give you more than what you pay. I'm putting in so much into this course that hopefully is equivalent to way more than what you paid for it, like way more. It's going to give you higher returns. So you see, it's about providing value and getting something in return as a transaction. But where would we be without transactions? You are living in a capitalist system, and you've got to play the game. You've got to play the game if you want to get anywhere in life. So play the capitalist game, set up a business, provide lots of value to a group of people, and don't be so skeptical of the whole thing. In the best businesses, everyone who participates wins. There's no one who loses out. If there's someone who's a loser, that's a kind of a criminal enterprise. It's a scam. You don't want that. That's an unhealthy business. But in a healthy business, in a good business, everyone who participates wins. And that's what we got right here. And that's what you're going to have in your business. There's also this idea, very common idea nowadays, that money doesn't bring happiness. And I beg to differ. I think money is a very important part of happiness because it removes certain low-tier problems from your life. Not all problems. In food, shelter, clothing, basic necessities, money makes a big difference. And it allows you to move on to the bigger things in life. If you have enough capital to have all your bases covered. Have you ever seen this? It's Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. On the bottom, it's got all your really basic needs as a human being. And then as it works its way up, you get more sophisticated, higher level needs that a human has. And really, you don't want to have to be using your day-to-day life in survival mode, trying to figure out the bottom tier. And that's where money comes in. Money just makes all those little problems go away. And then you can figure out the rest. You're in a business course right now. Hopefully you don't even need this being explained to you. But it's a problem I see. It's a problem I see with a lot of artists, a lot of animators. They don't think this way. And it cripples them. It cripples them so they're always in survival mode. They're living one commission to another because they're not trying to grow. They're not trying to thrive in this. They're trying to survive. They're not trying to thrive. If you make a decent amount of income, if you're able to set that as a goal and achieve it, you're able to move on to the higher problems you have in your life. You're able to move on to the higher achievements. So it does bring happiness in a way. Not in itself. Banknotes won't do anything for you, but they are certainly a means to achieving happiness and fulfillment in your life.
In this, I think he's a libertarian because he says, okay, so he's not necessarily a libertarian in, he's from the UK. He's not from America. He probably goes with one of the parties that have to deal with whatever the libertarian take for that would be in his UK's politics, whatever. But basically, I'm from America, so I'm going to say he's a libertarian because he believes in, money is power and not evil, which money, okay, we can say that maybe money itself isn't inherently evil, but it's been used to do evil things. People have done pretty, deplorable things just to get money. I mean, look at most politicians. You think a lot of them are getting into politics just to help the common man? No, a lot of them are going to get paid by lobbyists and such. So I don't really agree with this. His take. I think that I also think he's a libertarian because he's called me a leech, and he also says that the free market decides what my courses cost. I'm like, that's not something the free market decides. That's you. You are the person that charges for the courses. You are the person that comes down and decides, I'm going to charge X, Y, and Z for the courses. The whatever site that you have the courses on does not tell you you're only allowed to charge your students, using heavy quotation marks, $500 for the beginning course, and then another $500 for the advanced course, and then then chop it down to the $300 for this stupid course of which I'm reviewing, and then add on an extra $200 later on to make up the profit, because you wouldn't be getting as many people later on down the road. It's baffling that he thinks that it's the market that dictating what his courses or anyone else's stuff costs. No, it's you. You are the person deciding. And then he comes up with something saying I'm whenever I make these courses, I always try and add in more than what you paid for. You can't. How do you quantify that?
how do you quantify that your courses even cost $500? You don't. He didn't. I know he didn't. He's not that smart enough to do that. He's not able to think of like compare it with all the other ones. He just chose $500 because that's what he wanted to. That's the most amount of money he thought he could get out of people, and he's like, I try and add in so much stuff for you guys. So that way you just really feel like you're like, oh, I got so much knowledge from this. I got excess knowledge. I got more than $500 out of this course than what I actually put in. I should be on my hands and knees bowing to this man for just being so generous and kind. Like, he's just constantly fluffing himself up. Like, one of the funny things is that he's like, I'm making sure I gave you more than what you paid for. Which, I mean, considering the fact that his course originally cost $300 and now he's bumped it up to like $500 from now, I suppose theoretically he is correct in regards to this course because he just upped the price by almost half. So theoretically, I guess those first couple people that bought the course, you did technically get more than you paid for, but when you paid for, all you paid for was to be given motivational speeches. I don't really know how you'd be able to quantify that unless you're like a lobbyist in government who paid off a politician. Or something, and then the politician comes out and gives you a motivational speech to tell you how great the company is and all that stuff. He has no idea what these courses actually should cost, but I think I do, and it's a grand total of, and I mean all of them combined, maybe $100, maybe, because there is a lot of filler in these stupid things. Like, one of the courses was just like, I'm gonna show off some really cool like fight scenes I've seen from all the best movies, and another one is like the previous ones that don't even have anything remotely like you don't learn anything from them. Does your teacher go into an entire diatribe about how, oh, you guys look like a bunch of sad sacks? If you were ever going to be like a physician or something, like, we cut up people all the time. You need to you need to hold that scalpel a little bit better. Come on now, we're out there, we're changing the world by giving this guy a new liver. Like, that's not part of their lesson plan when they start. He's just fumbling about and just trying to think of like, I don't know what to add here. Like, I'm going to talk about, you need to be more confident in yourself. You need to have more passion than the other guys. And for some reason, he thinks that that's like, that gives someone monetary value. This fool legitimately thinks that in the promo video that he put up for it, he's literally saying that he even put in a calculator to show off to people, to basically have them figure out how much this stupid course helped them, like how much it generated revenue for them. Like, are you kidding me? You think anything that I've just reviewed is anything worth mentioning in regards to like earning profit? What did you learn from that? Other than the fact you might have, I don't know, like social anxiety. But that's like you figuring out coming to Jesus moment with you, with yourself. It's not really him helping you in any regard. That's just a conclusion you came to. So I don't really think anything of what he's saying here is of any substance to anyone at all except him. But that's just because he likes to hear himself talk.
Okay, today I want to talk about a distinction we can make between two different types of businesses, B2B and B2C. I've drawn a very simple diagram to describe each one. So imagine this is you for business to consumer. So the B2C stands for business to consumer. Imagine you as a business, and imagine that you are a channel, like a YouTube channel, like perhaps like Jaden Animations is a good example of a story time channel where Jaden Animations makes most of the revenue from lots and lots of little customers, if you like, which are viewers. Viewers are like little tiny customers that there's a tiny transaction involved where millions of people watch a YouTube channel and millions of people are entertained by it. So you're providing something for them, and millions of people provide you something in return, which is typically on YouTube advertisement revenue. And there are other ways to extract a bit of revenue from your viewers, such as merchandise sales, online downloads, live streams, donations. So many different things you can do for that. That's the idea. I hope you can see that with each of these, there's like a give and take, that you're providing something and the consumer's providing something to you. And that's how the business to consumer model typically works. And then over here, you have business to business, B2B. Now, these are typically less famous in terms of like mainstream fame. You might not have heard of a lot of these businesses because they don't have this wide outreach typically, or as much of a wide outreach, but they do have an outreach, and they are just as invested in being out there, being famous, being well known. But we'll get to that. So for this one, you have you as a business, and then you have a client. And you can see that they're equally sized. If anything, the client's a bit bigger than you. The client can be a lot bigger than you. It can be a lot smaller than you. The client can vary in size, but the client could be massive, okay? It could be a big corporation, if you like, or it could be an individual just with a project. And then we have you providing a customized video for the client, typically a custom animation of sorts or animation services, and the client giving you a big bag of cash. And that's what we're all about, aren't we? So that's business to business and business to consumer. Now, to just give you an idea of how I work both of these, because one of your questions might be, which one do I try? Which one do I do? And I would say that both of these are legitimate and great businesses, and they have different things going for them. This is a bit closer to having an ordinary job. This one is a bit more flexible, because what you find with the business to consumer is that you can actually dictate where to go as a business to consumer business. And I'll get into an example of that, but basically people can come and go as they like. No one's locked into a contract. So you might make a change to what you're providing as a B2C service or goods and services. Some people will leave because they don't want that thing anymore, but other people will join. So it's very nice and flexible. Whereas business to business, you are typically locked into a contract. You have to do what you negotiated, and these contracts can last a lot longer. There's a lot more commitment involved in each transaction that you do. As an example, okay, so for business to consumer, I have a business to consumer website. It's called animatorguild.com. You're probably also familiar with my YouTube channel. Now, I'm an animator who has a YouTube channel. That is all part of the plan. That was not just a spontaneous thing. This was planned by me. I decided to create for myself a website that is distinctly separate from my portfolio. So over this side, I have my portfolio website, and this is howardwimshurst.com. So let me just put in the more specific one, howardwimshurst.com. I'll just put portfolio here. Something like that looks a bit neater. And here with animatorguild.com, I would class that as what I like to call edutainment. Great little word here. It's just the cross between education and entertainment. So I found that's my kind of pitch for Animator Guild, is that it's teaching people about animation. So the customers that I have tried to target with this are other animators. But I also understand that animators want to learn about animation, but they want to learn in a way that's entertaining, that's engaging, that doesn't feel like they're sitting in a boring classroom just learning theory. They want something that's fun and engaging. So Animator Guild, that's the goal, that's the audience that's targeted, but from there, I can offer so many different things. Animator Guild has a forum, Animator Guild has a YouTube channel with over 250 video uploads, Animator Guild has courses, online courses like the one you're watching now, it downloads, it has references. All of these things are designed to help animators with different problems that they might have or things that they aspire to have. HowardWimshurst.com is more of a traditional portfolio. This is a portfolio that is specifically targeting clients, large, high-paying clients that want custom animation visuals for them. They want to create an animated experience that's memorable, that's original, that is very tailored to their needs. So I get clients like documentary filmmakers. I have corporate clients that sometimes contact me. I have studio networks like ABC that contact me. So big clients like that, and individuals as well. Sometimes people are wanting to start their own YouTube channel and things, and I get YouTubers that contact me as well. So that's HowardWimshurst.com. Now, I think that it's really good to be able to do both. But of course, which one do you start with? Which one's a good one to start with? What I find here is that you can actually start with one of these, and then you can, over time, you can branch out over into the other territory. I really got started in animation by putting animations up on newgrounds.com on the internet. And I just put them out there. I didn't really expect anything. And then people started contacting me for commissions saying, hey, if I pay you, can you do that same thing for me? So it actually started, if I really think back long enough, it started with business to consumer. Then I branched into business to business, and this is by taking commissions. Then once I was in commissions, I started recording my screen activity, my screen recordings, my process for making these animations, and I started broadcasting them on YouTube. That goes back to business to consumer, right? Because I started a YouTube channel, people started watching that, I started earning advertisement revenue and other things. So each of these, what you're seeing here, is that actually it might not be good to separate these. You actually might want to think of providing all of these and seeing how, which activities are you doing on one side of this that you can then do on the other side. And it doesn't have to be exactly what I'm doing, but I have found that this kind of naturally came about. So I didn't plan all of this quite as meticulously as I am now documenting, but it happened in this very natural, organic way, and it became a very sturdy business. But what I found with this is that having both business to consumer and business to business is great because it's diversified. It's diversified. Now, what does that mean? It means that, let's say, for a while, I don't have a client that comes along. There are no clients. For some reason, for whatever reason, during the month of August or whenever it is, no clients contact me for work, and I'm just there and I'm just sitting around. I'm unemployed effectively because I'm not doing work for a client. I'm not bringing in money. What do I do? What do I do? If I didn't have business to consumer as animatorguild.com, I would have nothing to do, and I would probably just be sitting around feeling sorry for myself. But instead, I decided, right, no client is contacting me. I'm making YouTube videos. I'm going all in. I'm going to go all in YouTube videos until an eligible client contacts me. So I try and make some viral YouTube videos. I might get like 100,000 views on a video. That brings in a bit of advertisement revenue. But what it also does, and this is why, pay attention to these arrows, right? You're going to keep ping pong. If you do this effectively, if you set this up, and if you're not setting this up, I want to know why. I want to know why you're not setting this up, because it's a great scheme. I start ping ponging. I make a YouTube video. Look at all these. Look at all these. Check this out. Consumers. They're audience members. They're being entertained. They're being informed. Now, some of these, every now and then, very occasionally, could be 1 in 10,000 people, but occasionally one of them looks a little different to the others, behaves a little differently to the others. They turn out to be a client. Clients watch YouTube videos. Can we repeat that? Clients watch YouTube videos. Very important for you to realize that. If you're an Instagram person, clients scroll through Instagram. Employers, if you're trying to get your way to a studio position, your employer scrolls through Instagram. I guarantee it. When they're on the way to work in the morning, when they're on the train, they're doing that. So why aren't you getting on social media? Why aren't you investing in your social media, in your business to consumer, getting really good at that? This is outreach. This is marketing for your services. If you go onto my YouTube channel, in 250 uploads, I have over 20 million views from these just endless uploads, right? So many uploads. In the description of every single one of them, I put howardwimshurst.com. I write a little sentence that says, I'm a professional animator, I offer professional animation services. howardwimshurst.com if you want to know more. No wonder my inbox is full, right? Because some of these that come along turn out to be clients or prospect clients, potential clients. Someone who, they're watching a video and it's edutainment. So they're learning about animation typically. It's relevant to the subject of animation. They're watching it and they're thinking, man, I should just hire this guy who is teaching this stuff. If he's teaching it, he clearly understands it. He clearly knows how to make an animation, and he showed a little piece of animation at the start of the video and it looked really cool. I wonder if he can do that for me. They go onto my website through the link in the description, they contact me, and we set up a deal. So it's linked. These things, they fluidly move. And so I'll do a commission for this client who's come along, right? I do a commission, and then what do? While I'm making the video, I'm also recording my screen. I also set it up with the client. I negotiate with my client to say, by the way, a condition of working with me is that I document my process so that I can teach others how I make animations. And I'm making an edutainment video. It's entertaining enough that it can get out there to a lot of people. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of editing, and I'm someone who's not afraid to go in front of the camera, so that's fine for me. But for some of you, I will show you examples of how you can make YouTube videos, edutainment YouTube videos, without going in front of the camera. Nothing, no extroverts needed. You can do it as an introvert and not be in front of the camera completely anonymously if you like. So that's not an excuse that you can use. Okay? So this is the distinction. This is a very broad distinction, but you'll find that most businesses fit into these two. Not all of them. There are some government contract businesses and things like that that maybe don't fit into this perfectly, but most of the time they do. So that is business to consumer and business to business, how you can use both of them, how I recommend you should use both of them. Use one to start the other. If you're wondering, hey, why can't I get clients? Go to business to consumer, focus on building social media presence. If you're thinking, man, why can't I get views? Try and use one of your clients, work with one of your clients to build a video out of it. And you have to be creative. This is a creative medium. It's a creative business. You have to be creative about it. But this is what has worked for me. I'm telling you what's worked for me. I have had massive success from this, and there's no reason why you can't either. Nothing has changed enough. Like, things have changed since I started, but not drastically enough for this to not work for you. Okay, that's the end of the video.
I just want everyone to understand this man spent 18 minutes going over, and in the video I play, it's actually sped up. I'm being honest. I sped it up by half of what it is, and it's still a slog. He literally, it's 18 minutes, and in that 18 minutes, why does he talk to his audience like they're stupid? Or I guess his students like they're stupid. He's like, this is B to C, and this is B to B. I'm like, dude, it's literally just B to C. It's just you making a YouTube video. That's it. That's all that's happening. He's not going out and like strategizing and figuring it out. He's just uploading a stupid video about how a professional animator looks at and sees this really cool fight scene and analyzes how the animation was made, and that's it. That's all he did, and he has like 330,000 subs. He's had around there for like years. And that's basically all he does. Like he's like, but that only works if you have a millions of sub YouTube channel. Anything below that, you're not gonna get much out of the B2C method, which is just making YouTube videos. That's it. That's all you're doing. He's like, use your social media to engage your viewers, and eventually they'll give from you, and you'll give to them. I'm like, dude, all you did was just post a 12-minute video about why Ichigo could like when he impaled that guy, and his 16-foot sword was like really cool and like super edgy, and he's trying to make everything in here sounds so much more complicated than it actually is. And B2B is just all it is you talking with whoever commissioned you. That's it. That's all what B2B is. Like you and your client. I don't know why he's going. I don't know why he needed to spend 20 minutes explaining this, as if this isn't a concept someone past 5th grade can't comprehend. Also, when he explains about Animator Guild has 17,000 subs. And to be completely honest, all it is just, so he's got a Discord, and he's got all these animators in it, and basically he just kind of like farms them for free content, because I'm almost entirely certain he monetizes every video that is on Animator Guild. And so from all the people in his Discord, he's basically using them as a way of earning more money, because he hosts these competitions and such that a lot that people they'll post their work in. So basically all the people that submit things into the competitions, basically he gets to make ad money off of them, off their hard work, and they don't get anything in exchange. So he's basically scamming all the people in his Discord who actually go into these competitions. All that money just gets funneled back to Howard. That's just another way of him to make revenue. Yeah, he scams people in the Discord that he talks to a lot of the time. He scams people that come in and think they're going to get 3 to 4 years of a university education out of. And then he also just tries to scam people in general through stuff like NFTs and such. All in all, I give him a IGN 7 out of 10, which is to say poor.
With small, low-paying commissions, cheap commissions, they are some of the most difficult clients to work with. They're the most picky, they're the most controlling a lot of the time. I know I'm making a big generalization and there are exceptions to this, but on the whole, it seems to be this way. On the other hand, premium clients often tend to be more flexible. They give you more space, they're less controlling, and have a greater respect for your expertise. So not only will you earn more from charging more, you'll also probably have a better time during the commission. You'll have a better relationship with your clients, which has a lot more space, a lot more relaxation. Yeah, better overall experience. I think part of this is because people who are in business, they are more likely to understand their limits. They're not going to micromanage you as much. They're going to respect you being in business. They have too much stuff to do. They're too busy to concern themselves with making minor changes here or there that don't actually make a difference, you see? So they're not going to fall into a lot of the trappings that we kind of despise as animators about certain clients. They're not going to fall for that. They're not going to concern themselves with that because it's not important to them. They're going to leave you to do what you do best. If you're sick and tired, if you're fed up of having too many troublesome clients that are just making unrealistic demands, that are just being really difficult, charge more. It's going to help. If you make yourself a premium service, ironically, the clients will be less demanding and they pay you more. So at least if they are demanding, you're going to be compensated for it. Okay, that's the video.
This video in particular, he goes over low paying clients versus high paying clients and why high paying clients are better. It kind of depends. So if you have a high paying client, they could be more demanding. If you have a low paying client who doesn't have as much to offer you, they may be more, relaxed about whatever it is that you happen to give them. I wouldn't really go off exactly what Howard says. Howard wants to go for the big bucks because Howard is, if you're an artist and you tend to go for like the high clients that pay more, it doesn't necessarily make you greedy or anything like that. It's just that Howard, in tandem with going for higher paying clients, he also likes to scam everyone and anyone around him. So it's not really him. He's not really. He might not actually be getting more flack from lower paying clients. He might just, if he had never gotten a lower paying client before, he might have gotten one issue with it that he might have been kind of annoyed at. And he probably was thinking to himself, well, if you only charged me if I only got $100 out of you, you should be happy with whatever I've given you, even if what I've given you is subpar in your eyes. Versus someone that he had, paid him $500, and in which case he'd probably go, yes, sir, whatever you want, sir, anything for that $100 bill, y'all. But I can't really say too much about this. From the people that I've kind of commissioned before for help. As long as you work with them, they'll work with you. Everything's negotiable, from pricing to dates and times. If you're going to commission someone, don't be an ass. And if you're going to take commissions from people, just don't take it from the people that are going to be rude or nitpicky. Pricing can fluctuate, but general personalities tend not to. So.
Okay, this is going to be my introduction to client management, this client management section. I really like this section. I think this section is super important. We've spent a lot of time talking about finding clients, attracting clients, positioning yourself for when those prospect clients come in through the door. But what about the clients that you currently have and how you're treating them? Focusing on the ones that are paying you. I think that's super important for your business, and it's a key to sustainability of your animation business. Now, we've got here, I don't want you to look at this just yet, but look at the happy client section. So a happy client is easier to work with. A happy client promotes you to their friends, hopefully. And a happy client might come back for more. Is far more likely to come back for more, repeat business. That's the stability of your business. The sustainability of your business depends on this. So with all in all, it just is a very good business decision to invest in your client's happiness. And this is an emotional state. So this is actually doing things in your business, making moves in your business to make sure that your client is feeling comfortable and reassured at all times. Now, one of the keys to happiness, I think, is security. And it is actually alleviating certain fears and concerns. So down here we have what if. Okay, and these are the little nagging things that may be holding your client back. These can also apply to prospect clients. Sometimes prospect clients might actually hesitate to work with you just because of some of these concerns. The key is, first of all, putting yourself in the client's shoes, in the client's position. So we want to really understand our clients and what they're going through, what they're worrying about. I often say the client is just as afraid of you as you are of them. There is plenty, when commissioning you, there is plenty for the client to be concerned about, for the client to be worried about. And the client is right to be worried. They're taking on a risk. They're taking a gamble when they put their hard-earned money onto the table and give it to an artist. Not a fellow business compadre, not a peer of theirs, but an artist, someone they are not really that familiar with. They're not really on close terms with you. They only just met you, most likely. They've probably been stalking you for a while online on your social media and things and been admiring your work, but they don't really know you. And also they don't really know artists that well. So to them, you're a bit of an unpredictable creature that they're not familiar with dealing a lot with in business. This is for kind of non-industry clients that I'm talking about. When you go into the industry, things can be different. In the industry, an animation director or an executive producer, yeah, they'll have worked with creatives all the time. That's different. But for this, we're talking about kind of civilian clients, people who want to commission you who might be from a business background, or they might just have a passion project. They might just be from a different expertise altogether. And you are being commissioned by them to take care of their every need when it comes to animation. You are there to deliver the project to them. What could they be worried about? We've got to use our empathy tactically here to figure out what they're worried about, because this, alleviating these sufferings and reassuring the clients, is the key to the client's happiness, which is very helpful to our business moving forward, to a sustainable business. What if it's a lazy artist? What if I was wrong about the character? What if I judged the character wrong and the artist is lazy? And the artist is late on the deadlines. The artist doesn't pick up the phone. The artist doesn't answer the emails in time. Leaves me hanging, leaves me in the dark about where they're at with the project. This could happen. This is a realistic concern. Maybe the artist is lazy. I've heard from so-and-so that you can't trust an artist. They're lazy. They're idealists. They're not very practical. That's a concern. And I'm going to get to the solutions in the rest of this section of the course. But for now, we just need to really understand what the client could be worried about. What could be those little concerns in the back of their head? What if the artist is a fraud? What if the artist has been using work in their portfolios that they claim is theirs, but isn't? Maybe they were just copying another artist, and actually I'm not talking to the expert here, I'm talking to the rip-off guy who actually just took someone else's work. Now that's a hard one to disprove, and you shouldn't really have to go out of your way to disprove that, but it's something. And I think the thing that could reassure the client is just the way you talk. And if you talk like an expert and you talk as if you, from a place of authority, as if you know what you're talking about, that can help. So it's just what's detected in general, your level of confidence, I would say. What if during the project we argue? I wouldn't want to argue with an artist, but what if we end up arguing over a certain thing? I don't want anything that I say to be misconstrued. I don't want anything I say to be interpreted as being rude or condescending to the artist. I'm worried about insulting the artist. I'm worried that the artist might take offense to something that I don't know or don't understand. Possibly. And you've got to think with this one, depending on who that client has in their personal life, maybe they have argued with someone recently, and maybe they're just thinking, I just don't want any kind of friction with another person right now. I just want someone to just do what is expected, like to set the expectations, to not betray me, to just do what is expected. And I'm partially saying this from the experience I have as a client, because I've been an animator, but I've also been a client, because I have commissioned other animators to work on my projects for me. Okay, so I've hired animators, and this is how I am so familiar with how a client feels, is because I've been one. I've been a client many times, and I've experienced this. I've had to look through their portfolio and double check and triple check and think, what if they're a fraud? I've had to think to myself, is this artist a risk of being a lazy artist? Can I rely on them to deliver on time? Are they argumentative? Are they going to just give me flack at every point in turn? Are they going to turn me into the enemy here? Am I going to start to feel bad about that? What if the artist abandons me? This is something that the client is going to think to themselves. Probably the biggest nightmare scenario that a client can face is just being left with a half-finished work-in-progress project and half their budget. And they can't do anything from there. They can't go anywhere from there. They don't know how to open up the source files. If it was me, I would know how to open up the source files. But a client who's not technically trained won't know how to open up the source files and salvage the project if the artist abandons them. So that would be catastrophic to the client, especially on a big budget projects. That's a real problem that they don't want to face. And the simplest one, maybe I should have started with this one, but what if we get to the end of it, there's the big reveal, and I just don't like it? I just don't like what the artist has made. So these are big concerns. And I'm not going to go, in this video, I'm not going to go into detail with how to deal with these, how to reassure the client, but you know that the reassurance is key to this client's happiness. This is why I wanted to start with the fears without just giving you solutions. I will give you solutions in the next video, but first, you have an opportunity here to figure out from first principles how to alleviate these fears. So once you know the fears, you can actually look at it yourself and see if there are solutions of your own that you can come up with to assuring the client that these scenarios are not going to happen to them. Assurance that the project will be delivered, that you will do what is instructed, that you won't abandon the project, that you are fully committed to the project. What can you do? Because it's one thing to know this as an artist, to know that you've got it in the bag, that you can do it. But it's a whole different thing to communicate that and to assure the client that they will be happy in the end. The client will actually frequently worry about artist abandonment during the project. I've had clients turn around and say to me, they said, Howard, I'd just like to say, I've never had an experience as good as the one that I've had with you. And I said, thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. What do you think it is that I did that made that experience better for you? And he said, it was the regular email updates. Now, this was over the course of a couple of weeks that I was working for this client, so it was a small project, and I was giving updates every 2 days. So at the end of every 2 days, I would give like a little sentence, and I would just say status update, and then like a sentence for just how the project is going. And I was always delivering it in good news. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm going to give you that lecture next. But yes, this is the introduction to client management. Well,
when it comes to client management, there's so much of this course that's just like, a lot of it is like basic stuff that you can figure it out on your own. It's common sense, to be honest. Like, did you really need to spend $300 to $500 just to learn that clients don't want people that are lazy, that trace from other animators, that that could, like, if you're an artist and you've abandoned project, but for some reason you still keep getting work, that's more of like on the client for accepting your work. But it's also on you also as an artist. You shouldn't abandon projects. But I mean, if they see that you've got, like, I don't know, like you're on like Fiverr or anything of that such, or any other art site where you can commission people, and you've got comments in your comment section or your review section that say artist abandoned project, I would not like to 1 star or whatever, and they still pick you, well, that's really on them. But if you also abandon projects, that's not something you should be doing. But if you're abandoning projects, why on earth are you paying $300 to $500 to be in a business course for this tool right here? I don't think those two really correlate. I don't really think this is information that person really needed, because they're not. I'm almost certain they're not going to do that if they're in a business course of all flipping things. Well, the one thing I will say is, if the artist doesn't like it, you can edit it, but I wouldn't suggest. I would suggest always communicating with the artist. With the client, to make sure that everything's progressing as they would like it to progress, I suppose. Another thing is that Howard, again, like, this is like, what how much was this thing? Let me look. It was 16 minutes and 35 seconds. 16 minutes and 35 seconds of him just going over part 1 of what? Just like telling you, oh, hey, you need to make sure your clients don't hate you. That shouldn't be that difficult. I don't understand why you have to pay hundreds of dollars to figure this one out, figure this bombshell of a news drop on you. There's so much of his stuff that's just like, it's there, but it shouldn't really be there, because it doesn't really offer much of anything, if I'm being honest. It's just kind of like, I don't know what I should make this business course about. maybe if people are commissioning people and what a commission is and the dictionary term for a commission, and maybe throw in a couple new buzzwords to explain to people, to more complicate the word about commission. And then it doesn't offer you any particular like specific details as to where to get commissions, what sites is the best ones to commission on, or like how Howard himself found how to commission, like from YouTube or whatever, or any of his analytics or anything of that such. It's always, whenever he teaches you something, and I don't really mean teaches, I mean just kind of like exclaim something at you. We'll go with that. It's always very generalized. It's something you could learn just from literally anyone that does take commissions, to be completely honest with you. It doesn't really feel like his heart is in it. And he said in like the promo video that his heart wasn't really in getting started in an animation course, which is, let's be real here, his heart's not in any of these. This is just a ploy to get money out of people, because he's not a teacher, he's not accredited, he doesn't know how to make lesson plans. This is not anywhere near close to anything worthy of study. Like you can't study this material. You're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to get more clients. You're not going to get more commissions. It's just a way of funneling money from you to him. Congratulations, you got played.
Okay, well, continuing on from the last lecture where we had the what if scenarios for our clients. I'm going to put them up on here. Lazy artist. A fraud. The artist, we argue. The artist abandons me. Or I don't like it. So these are some, perhaps not all, but some of the different concerns that your client can feel going into a relationship, business partnership with you. And it is your job to alleviate your client of these concerns. This is your business. This is your responsibility. It's on you. It's on you. So I have some more solutions here that are going to provide reassurance to your client that these things are not the case and they don't need to worry about them. And this is going to make your client feel, it's what your client feels, it's going to make your client feel much better about this entire arrangement. Here they are. So I'm going to address all of these at the same time with a list of comparable responses here. Now, first of all, I recommend you have what I call an expectations meeting. Sometimes I also call it an education and expectations meeting. A lot of the problems that occur within client-artist relationships comes from a lack of education, and that is the artist's responsibility. The artist has a responsibility to inform the client, to educate the client on how the animation process works. And a lot of times, the problems and the struggles with these client relationships happen because the artist has not taken the time to introduce and to educate the client on how animation is made, on the process itself. So this is an education and expectations meeting where you are telling the client how animation is produced. Explain to them that there is a production and post-production phase of the animation process. Explain to them that they will be involved in the early pre-production phase. They will have chances to do that, and then the rendering phase they will not be involved, but they will be updated by you. You can tell them how often how often they can expect an update from you. You can tell them how long you think each phase is going to last. And I can provide some more writing about that down below this video and perhaps in the later parts of this section of the course. Expectations meeting is a crucial one. It's one that I don't see being done that much, and it's where you get to take the lead, and that can really reassure your client that there is someone in charge who actually knows what they're doing, who's not a fraud, who is not just a first timer at this. There's someone who has experience behind them, who has a plan, who has a game plan that they are prepared and they are going to execute on. I just realized that this isn't underlined. Not my best underlining, but whatever. To address the fraud concerns, I found that one of the easiest and simplest ways is just to collect testimonials from your past clients. It's providing social proof that you are legitimate, that you're not just a fraud. You know what can supercharge testimonials is if they are made public. because testimonials by themselves, there is the possibility that you could fake a testimonial, but you can't fake a testimonial that is done on someone else's social media. So if you can, collect public endorsements. One such example of this is that after working with Chad Rivera, he was so overjoyed about the animation that was created in our collaboration that he created an ending part to the YouTube video where he sat down and just explained how excited he was about this animation coming to fruition and made that as a public YouTube video on his channel. There was no way I could have faked that. It was on his channel. He wanted to do it. Now, the way that you actually get public endorsements is by doing a really solid job on the commission itself. So it's easier said than done, but public endorsements are especially good because there's no way you can really fake them. You can't fake that. You can't fake getting someone else to make a social media post, like an Instagram post or something, where they're thanking you in the writing, in the text part. That's the best kind of endorsement you can have, the best kind of testimonial you can have. If you have enough of them, that should reassure anyone that you're not a fraud. But also just behaving well in the space, building a good name for yourself over time. It takes time, but that can happen. And make sure that you're just on best behavior with every project that you do. Arguments. For arguments, I would say try to never get angry with the client. Always try to explain to them. Always try to assume that the reason the client is behaving this way is because they don't know any better. So always ask yourself, have I communicated something wrong? Have I miscommunicated something? Is there something that I haven't actually been clear with the client about? Because a lot of this is down to setting the right expectations. But I'd say if you do get angry, I'd say delay angry responses. But this is a bit of a side point because you shouldn't really get to this point anyway. But I would say the expectations meeting is your best friend in this, in reassuring the client. Expectations meeting is so useful because there you can actually set reasonable expectations for the clients. When you're having your first meeting with the client, they can be really excited and they can think that you're going to deliver something that's just unrealistically good by yourself as a freelancer. You need to set that expectation. You need to temper the expectation to be something that's reasonable because success is always relative to one's expectations. At the same time, to alleviate the worry of being a fraud and also to reduce any kind of arguments, any kind of misunderstandings, I think it's always good to have punctual responses. The client's fear will increase for every day that you don't respond to their question, to their message. The other principle I have, and I want you to remember this principle, if the client is having to ask you for an update, you know that you were too late in updating the client. If the client has to ask you for an update, it means that you were too late to update the client. It means that the client is getting worried about your progress, about the lack of updates. You want to beat your client to the update every time, so the client never has to ask for an update. The way you can do this is with regular unprompted updates. You set this in your expectations meeting. You even tell them, I'm going to update you every Saturday. Every Saturday you can expect a short update on how the project is going. You might not have any visual evidence because I don't like to actually give you work in progress visuals because that can make you worried because the creative process, you shouldn't really be doing that. But you will get a sentence or two at the very least from me in an unprompted email update. You are setting that. You are sticking to that. That will prove that you're not a lazy artist. It will reassure them that you are not abandoning the client at any time. If the client was ever worried that you're abandoning them, well, how can they be worried if they know that next Saturday I'm going to get my next update on how the project is going? The other piece of advice I'd give for this with the unprompted updates is good news only. Good news only. Look, if you are struggling with a certain part in your commission, I wouldn't involve the client, especially if it's technical. If it's a technical problem, a technical hurdle you're overcoming in the project, your client shouldn't really need to know about it because that's giving stress to the client. It's making the client worry. This is your expertise. This is your field. It's your burden to bear. So this should be good news only. When you solve a problem, you tell them. It's like a politician. Politicians don't tell you when their political party has made a goof. They don't want to talk about how they made a mistake on that or how they could have improved on this thing. No, it's good news only with a politician. You should be giving politicians answers in these unprompted updates to keep morale high, to keep the client from worrying and to keep client happiness levels high. This last one, I don't like it. Now, I have heard of this happening. I've talked to freelance animators and they have complained that they worked on this project for 6 months or for a long time. They were working on a project and then right at the very end, the client turns around and says, I don't like it. I'm not giving you the rest of the money. Now, it's always a possibility, right? If you're doing 50% installments, it's a possibility. What really makes this very unlikely? pre-production sign-off. If you are at all worried about your client turning around at the end and saying, I don't like it, get them to sign off on the pre-production material and don't move forward past pre-production, past your planning phase, past your design phase until they have signed off on the designs, on the animatic, on the background designs, on the color choices if you want. Get them to sign off in writing, guys. In writing. They should be saying, I approve of this. This is great. I'm ready to move forward. Now, if they don't like it at the end, that is because of a caprice of some sort on their part, but it's not because of you. Because what you did is you have it in writing that they signed off. They did at one point like where this project was going, and all you have done since then is rendered the approved designs. It's highly unlikely that they will turn around and not like it at the end if you do that. And in their case as well, they have been involved at the most creative part of the process, which is the pre-production part. The pre-production part is where the biggest creative decisions are being made. Then after that is execution. So the unprompted up, so these two really important. Like these, I'm gonna actually highlight, I'm gonna make some of these bold because they're so important. Okay, so expectations meeting. This should be in video in itself. I think I will make a video about the expectations meeting. Super important. Unprompted updates. This is a game changer. This will turn your client from just liking you or just approving of you to loving your service, to actually talking to their friends about it and recommending you to other people. Unprompted updates is something no one does. No one does it. Guys, you can beat all your competition in client satisfaction. Client satisfaction, you can win this. You can win against the most seasoned animation veterans in the game. You can make your clients more happy than them because they neglect their clients, guys. They might produce better animation standards. They might have some tricks up their sleeves, these veteran animators, but they don't care for their clients. They are not they're not giving reassurance to their clients and caring about their happiness. And that is important to your clients. Pre-production sign-off. I'm telling you guys, from some of you guys and your complaints about problems later on in the pipeline and clients turning around and not liking this stuff, pre-production sign-off will change that for you. Get them to sign in writing. Then you can show them that and be like, look, you approved of this. They might have gone onto Pinterest and seen a character design that's different from the design of your project and then say, oh, can't you change it? But that's different. That is based on the client. But it's not letting them down in terms of the expectations. So these are the ways that if you practice all of these ways, your client is very likely to be extremely reassured and extremely happy. If you are not doing one of these, then it's increasing the chance that the client has an underlying anxiety, and that's going to reduce their experience. It's going to make their experience a little bit more stressful for them. It's also going to potentially increase tensions in your working relationship, and it could cause problems potentially. So this is how I reassure my clients and give them a great experience overall. And this is what keeps them coming back for more. It's what makes them recommend me, and it's what gives me these testimonials, because they are happy by the end of these projects to give me a glowing testimonial. Okay, that's the end of this short lecture.
When Howard is talking about how the artist has set expectations by explaining to the commissioner about how animation is made, it just kind of makes you sound, the hell's the word? Just kind of like you have an air of like pretentiousness, because the commissioner's like, well, what's taking so long? Got you guys, it's been a good bit, and then the only person's response is, animation takes a long time. There's 24 frames. And if you're working on 1s, 2s, 3s, the time can fluctuate. The intricacies of the scenes, it was just a simple speaking like dialogue with like the only part of the body that moves is like the eyes and the mouth. Then that takes like no time. But if it's anything like intricate, like a fight scene or an emotional scene or anything like really expressive, that's going to take a lot more time. The funny thing about that is that it doesn't come off in the way that you would think it would. For most people, they don't really. If they're coming to you asking to help for your help for animation, they don't really care about how you get there. They only care that you get to it as quickly as possible. So there are ways you can like assuage people. Sometimes just be real with them and say, I have IRL stuff going on. The people that I commission for helping on my project, when they tell me that, I'm just like, that's fine. Go ahead. Um, Now, if it has to do with something like a uh, a business person and they've commissioned you and they have this like hard deadline and you don't meet it, well, there's not really much in the way of wiggle room. You kind of have to just you either hit the deadline and get paid for work and all that such. You're early, which I don't know. They might tip you for, or you might not just get anything except for repeat business, which is also pretty good. Or you don't make the deadline, and if you don't make the deadline, they're more than likely willing to um, be a lot more helpful in that regard, just just to keep up the professionalism of the interaction, instead of just like cursing you out or any of that nonsense. Um, but you have to also explain to them when it will actually get done. You have to actually set a target for yourself and not just them. And then we move on to how to alleviate the fraud issue, is just to get testimonials and public endorsements. Um, well, So the thing about that is, he's like, you just have to do a really good job. People have to love your work. Um, that's not really, you don't actually have to do a really good job. You just have to satisfy the customer. So there's like, if you've ever been on Fiverr and you've been going through all the artists on there, some of them are like, they're not very good artists. Their work is kind of it needs work. Their work, but they don't really charge much. It's like whatever. So the thing about that is, if you do a good enough job for the amount you are paid, um, or at least is satisfactory to the customer, you're fine, and I'm sure they'll give you a nice review if you ask them. Um, but Howard's work, a lot of it is not that good. He's just kind of like, it's like flashy, like you can't really like hold a frame or be like anything really emotional, like character wise. At least not in depth. It's more like a conceptual thing with him. Um, and what happens there is that all the people, like, they're like, oh wow, he gave me, like, if you he he spit out 3 whole minutes of animation. I have to give him props for that. But they're not really coming to him for like the intricacies of his work. His work is just like slapdash. Let's scribble this stuff out. It's not really anything I would be like. I would be like blown away by. It's not like I'd be like, wow, this character, like, I love this character. They feel alive. No, no one ever says any of Howard's characters feel alive in any sense. Like, they could pull emotions, but that doesn't mean that they're it has anything to do with the character. It had more to do with like the music he used, the color hues, the whatever's going on around them. But when it comes to this sort of thing, it doesn't necessarily qualify his work as like solid, like, work in one regard. It just could be the whole overall package. It just took up so much time that the person feels compelled to just say, oh, they did such a good job. Like, the testimonials from other people, they don't really have to be like what they really think, like with all their like honest opinions. It's just them, it's a shout out. It's a YouTube shout out. If you have friends on YouTube that you can um, uh, put your shoulder against and be like, it's my guy, then yeah, they're more likely to give you like a shout out and stuff. I guess I don't know, make friends. That's all I can really say. If you want people to give you good testimonials of your commissions or whatever, or I guess put out good work enough for people to like not say, oh, this is awful. That's really all I can say. A lot of this, and it's so annoying because it's like hundreds of dollars worth of like of lessons that you're paying for. And again, this is all common sense stuff. He's not spitting facts that he wasn't able to understand. He's not saying like this isn't something you couldn't, if you had sat down for like 5 minutes, you could have figured out all the crap he's saying. I wouldn't even say 5. Make it a minute. It's not like he's some sort of like it's not like brain surgery. He's not going in there and like telling you, oh, if these neurons here are activated, all this crap. It's just a bunch of like, if you're a lazy artist, just tell them that you're not a lazy artist, and this is how your expectations are set. If people say you're a fraudster, just try to get a bunch of good reviews. Which is to say, that's funny because people can just review spam. Like they can just make an account and then just leave reviews, and you just leave your own reviews on your own. Like people do it all the time. Like restaurants, businesses, like they all do that. You can just review spam. Boom. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you technically aren't a fraudster. You can even have your friends do it. And so it works kind of both ways when it comes to fraud. I don't really agree with what he's saying. He's saying like testimonials are like a 100% like air sealed way of getting work that people trust. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it's not worth the money. This is so a nothing lesson. Oh my God, people paid actual money for this. This is insane. In regards to the arguing section, okay, so he's being kind of a paternalistic a-hole right now because he's saying, oh, well, you don't understand. You see, I just know better than you. I'm Howard Wimshurst. I just know better than you when it comes to animation, client. You just don't understand. That's why we're having this argument right now, because you're dumb, you're stupid, your brain's small. You don't understand things. You just need big teacher Howard over here to like sit you down in the chair and crack open a book for you and let you show you why in this 13-part series about why you're wrong. That's $5.99. It's $5.99 with no decimal in there, so it's $599 now. $5.99 because he's a scammer artist. Okay, so look, if you're having arguments with a client, that is honestly something that's your prerogative. It's kind of on you, unless the client just comes out of the gate swinging. If they're like, oh, I want it this way, and you better do it this way, then I just wouldn't take that client. If they're coming off aggressive in the very beginning, I would just, I wouldn't even take them. But if you happen to have a person and they're like, well, you were supposed to have, like I've gotten work back from people and it's not exactly been how I wanted it, it's more than likely just a miscommunication issue. You just need to explain to them, this is how I thought it was going. Evidently, you wanted to go another way. What really helps you in this kind of scenario is to constantly update them, because nothing like upsets a person that's getting a commission more, I believe, than if you are going like no contact with them for like weeks or days on end on a project, and they're like, and they might ask for an update, and you only send out like one, And then after a while, it turns out that it's something like they did not remotely think that they were asking for. Well, then that's on you, because you didn't update them enough. You didn't show them the process, and they weren't a part of that process. You just kind of did your own thing and just, like, here you go. Is this what you wanted? No? Oh, well, I mean, you already paid me, so that's kind of on you. That's kind of where arguments lead, because they feel like they're not getting their money's worth. Like, to be completely honest, there's not really much I disagree with Howard in regards to this lesson, or whatever it is, I don't really have much to say on it that goes against the grain. I'm not going to be like, oh, you should try and upset your commissioner or whatever. There's just the fact that you had to pay money. You had to pay money for it. That's the thing that really kills me, because he's acting like the thing he just told you, which could have been a YouTube video, if I'm being honest. He's acting like this is something like, oh, you were never gonna find this one out. This is something I've learned over the many years of my career. How to not annoy clients by just constantly keeping them in the loop as to how the work is progressing. And it's just kind of like, it's so like annoying, because he's like, it's basically him saying, well, I deserve to get paid hundreds of dollars to just spout a bunch of bull crap. He is. He might as well just be he might as well just be telling you how to like get a commission through Fiverr or any other art site. Like, you have to when I say telling you how, I mean literally going through the step-by-step process of filling out the info. Like, oh, put in, this is your name, your username, create a password. Like, going through those steps, because everything he's saying is such common sense crap, and it doesn't really feel like it's worth the price point that he's asking for. If you took this course, I really hope you did not wait 30 days before the refund process was eliminated, because if you did, you got suckered. That's all I have to say about that. You just did. There's nothing I can see that's not either common sense, or a lot of it's just some of it's just stuff that doesn't apply. Like the calculators, you can just go get the calculators. You don't need him. I'm pretty sure the site that you can get it from, I'm pretty sure they even have like a free model that you can use that did not cost $500 flipping dollars. Or well, $300, but it's now probably like around $500.
Before we prescribe. Diagnosis and prescription are two words commonly heard in the world of healthcare, actually. However, diagnosis and prescription are actually a two-step process which almost every professional in any industry should be using, especially consultants, as the bread and butter of customer interaction. So, how does it work in the world of healthcare? The patient books an appointment with the doctor. When the doctor is ready to see the patient enters, and the doctor starts by asking what the problem is. Then the doctor shuts up and lets the patient talk. The doctor just listens. The doctor might ask small questions here and there, but on the whole, the doctor is just listening and probably taking notes. Now, the doctor has not yet decided what the patient needs. The doctor processes the information that he or she has just heard. This might be followed by some further research or tests. Once the doctor has sufficient information, the doctor uses that information in combination with experience and skill to diagnose the client's problem. And this is where the doctor explains what is actually going on with the patient and goes over potential solutions. The patient has the ability to say the surface level sensations, and they are correct in how they explain the symptoms more often than not, such as there's a pain in my leg. Well, they're right about that pain in the leg, but the doctor has the education, training, and experience to understand the deeper underlying problem by linking the symptoms to knowledge of the underlying systems at play in the human body. From there, the doctor prescribes a solution. So we can separate this into two different stages of diagnose and prescribe, and we can apply this strategy in the world of creative expertise. And we should. So the client should not be the one prescribing the solution. If the client doesn't have expertise and the client has sought you out for your expertise in creating videos, in creating animation and animated videos, that's some expertise that you should be providing to the client. So that's the underlying concept when I talk about diagnose and prescribe. So this is a real paradigm shift, and this could be one that's difficult for your client to understand at first, but essentially you should be using your expertise, you should be using your experience to come up with solutions that maybe the client didn't know about or didn't even think about and didn't even consider for their own business. This is a way that you can add value to your service as an animator. You can bring greater value to your client, and it's one where the client becomes more open-minded to discussing solutions that they might not have been open to before. And some of those solutions are more mutually beneficial between yourself and the client. So they're more beneficial for you, they might also be more beneficial to the client. And we're going to see role plays and examples of how that can play out in a discussion with a client, in a simulated discussion.
Marvelous. Simply marvelous. This is like 2 minutes of the stupidest thing I have ever heard in regards to like animation. People should be using the words prescribe and diagnosis to sound more professional. And not only that, he thinks this is a lesson plan. He thinks this is something like you didn't know before that you needed to know now. I'm pretty sure people understand the different definitions of prescribe and diagnosis. But the issue here is that you don't need to use them for animation. It just makes you sound like I don't know, pompous, I guess. Like it makes you sound like some rich hoity-toity person that's just trying to make all your words sound more complicated. Like you go out to a restaurant and they're like, oh, "What would you like today, sir? Could I perhaps accept an offering of your finest H2O?" And they're like, "So you want a glass of water?" Yes, please. And if you could also add in those compressed cubes of liquid that have been stored in a refrigeration unit over a period of hours to which they have solidified, and the water molecules inside have lost all ability to function. You want ice cubes in that water? Indubitably. Like, why does he have to make things? He makes things sound more complicated than they need to, but not in a way that actually like makes sense or is helpful. Again, this is padding. 2 minutes of hearing this moron go on and on and on about something so unbelievably useless as a tip to animators. Literally, it baffles the mind. Like this is such a nothing burger of a lesson. He's just telling you to use fancier words. That's it. This is not worth money. Oh my god, this is a scam. It is. I don't even feel bad saying it. You got scammed. If you paid for this course, you should get your money back in full, because this is the work of someone that is so arrogant that they literally believe themselves to be a teacher when they have the equivalent intelligence of someone that just popped straight out of like college, and not even someone I'd say smart that came out of college. Just like your average person, they're standard, average, nothing medically like wrong with them or anything. Like they didn't like they're not someone that like got left behind a couple times in class, was eating the chalk in school, shoving glue sticks up their nose. No, this is a person that, for all intents and purposes, is just your average human being with like a little bit of like, he knows how to make animation, big whoop. That's it. That's your teacher. congratulations. He's not a professional. He ain't never been in the industry. He basically just kind of like blows himself up with all the hot air that he's filled with to just try and scam you out of hundreds of dollars. And for some people, unfortunately, it worked because he's got a high YouTube subscriber count. If he didn't have that, he wouldn't have nothing. Literally, if he didn't have a high YouTube count, he would just be some guy peddling courses that are just arguably just not even a tenth of the price of someone like Tanico Patoya or A&B Animation. Not even a tenth. You literally, you are a student learning from a student. Congratulations, you've been played. And I'm sorry for that to happen, but some people just look at his stuff and go, "Oh, he's so flashy and cool, though." I'm like, yeah, but his character is like lifeless. His business, like his business, is basically just trying to like suck up as much money away from his like viewers. They're like, well, I want to work with Logan Paul or Jake Paul or whatever. But I mean, if he was still doing commissions, they still paid a lot. Why would he be doing these stupid courses? Because he just suckers people. That's it. That's the whole point of it.
Gosh, I don't know anyone who likes a micromanager, especially in the art world. So when a client micromanages you, and what I mean by micromanage is they're too hands-on with the process. They're trying to guide your every brush stroke. It is a clear symptom of the client lacking confidence in your expertise. Now, I'm not saying that this is to blame on you necessarily. That could just be how the client is. But the client probably lacks confidence in your abilities because the client is fearful of losing control. Micromanagers are very tedious, and as a creative expert, you need to get space from your micromanager. Away from your micromanager, I should say. You need to have an environment where you can try and fail. And that's a very important part of the creative process. And you need to be able to do that away from the prying eyes of your client. Fortunately, it's very easy to do that if you're working remotely, if you're doing it online like I do as a freelancer, and you're not in the studio with your client. Show the project progress to the client at sparse intervals, and the rest of the time, don't show it. At these intervals, the client has the opportunity to write notes. You have prepared, you can kind of present to your client at intermediate points in the project. One of my students asked me, have you ever had an experience where a client wanted a change in the commission where it would look worse compared to what you had originally? If the client asks you to make a change, the implementation of the change might not be correct, but one thing cannot be ignored. The feeling the client had which caused them to say something about it, that is valid. What is not valid is your client's prescription, your client's orders of what you should do for that, because they're not the creative expert, you are. There's something there which did not feel right to the client, and that's important. It's important that you address that. Your role as the creative is to perhaps ignore what the client prescribes as a solution, but to pay attention to the fact that something is not right there that's making your client uneasy and unhappy. You need to identify what is misplaced and try and create a solution to it using your expertise. So here's how it usually goes down with me in the client feedback. I send the client an updated private screener. The client has their initial reaction and they notice a few things about the animation that didn't match their vision, which they would like to change. These can be things like the height of the character, what they're wearing, a little Easter egg detail they would love to have in, or perhaps working in a composition that they saw in their favorite film, these kind of things. I write each one of these little requests down. Any kind of point of feedback they have, I write them down in a list. I make sure that I'm going to address each point. There are no points that get ignored that the client brings up. They are all important to me, all of them. Even if maybe on face value it seems like it's not important. It is important because the client said it. If the client said it, it's important. Remember, you're making this project for the client. You're not making it for you. You're not making it for the audience. You're making it to please the client. If the client is paying, remember, none of the audience that's going to watch this film is paying you. The client is paying you. Therefore, it all revolves around the client. If the client is unhappy, I'm unhappy. I've got my list based on what the client has said. And for the next week or so, I dedicate that week to just working through the list of changes rigorously. On my shot list spreadsheet, I will mark the shots which need changing, like for when the character appears in the shot and the height needs to change. That's an example of something that maybe the client has asked for, right? But I think about each of the points on the change list. Some of them are really simple, like if the character is too short in one of the shots, sure. Right. Let's say the character is the client, and he says, no, I'm a bit taller than that. Can you make me taller? That's not a difficult one, okay? You don't need to be an expert to reinterpret what the client means by that. But for some of the other problems, maybe the client's like, man, I just feel like it's not hitting in the right way. They'll use language like that, which is very vague, very approximate, and it can be frustrating, but remember, the client is not an expert in this. The client is not an expert in communication. So it's up to you to try and interpret that as best you can. Try and, through questioning, extract a more accurate answer. Examples are great. If you give the client examples to be able to point at and say, yeah, like that, not like that. And also, are there alternatives which achieve the solution in a better way? You've always got to think about that as well. Like sometimes the client will prescribe something, but they'll miss a solution that would be even better. And that's where you can use your creative expertise and your imagination to make something that's even better. And also, what are the most expedient? What are the fastest ways of implementing these changes that are the most efficient for time? One thing is for sure, the client is never wrong about how they feel. Okay, they might be wrong in the way they articulate how they feel, but the feeling itself is real, it is valid. I always take my clients seriously with regards to how they feel. Now, they might be wrong as well on the logistics of how to solve the problem, but if they feel like something is off about a scene, it is. Something is off. Something needs to change. Turning around and saying, it's fine, there's nothing wrong about this, you're being wrong about that, you're wrong, is like the worst thing you could possibly do. It's saying the way you feel is wrong. It's denying the reality. Okay, so don't do that to your client. It's very disrespectful to do that to your client. But you can have the attitude of, okay, you have identified something wrong here, something that you're feeling, and you can leave it to me. I'm your creative expert here. I'm on your team and I'm your creative expert. You can leave it to me to figure out the best way of fixing it. I'm going to ask you a few more questions that's going to really locate the source of that feeling so that I can best understand the problem and fix it. That's, to me, a much better, more professional approach than what I see animators doing, which is whinging that their client doesn't know what they want and the client is a nightmare, and they're poking holes in something which is perfect. Okay, that's your ego talking. I consider it a major victory when I can fix slide in a way that actually makes the video better. So that's the answer to that question that my student asked me. And that's usually the case with this list. I'll go down and I think, what's the best way to solve that? Let's brainstorm some solutions to that problem that the client has identified. Maybe I'll come up with 3 solutions. Maybe I'll come up with 5 different solutions and I use the best one, the solution that the client would never have imagined. Because I'm the creative expert, remember, I create options, creativity and patience. This is why you're hired. If you are a creative expert, like you claim to be, you're hired to find creative solutions to these problems. It's the mark of a good creative mind, a good creative problem solver.
I kind of get, I'm honestly kind of getting annoyed at this because I'm just going to end up saying the same stuff I said before, which is just that you don't need to buy it. You don't need to buy this course. Anything you just listened to came out of this dude's mouth, was that worth $300? About how you just need to update your whoever's commissioning you. About how if they're being vague, you just need to ask them, hey, what did you actually mean by that? Or if they're not, if they see something they want done but they don't know how to describe it, using examples of, I guess, other animation or whatever to get the point across. This is not worth $300. It's not worth $500. It's not worth $100. It's worth maybe $50. Being honest, because look, this isn't anything new. It's not. I'm gonna keep saying the same point as I did in the last part I just reviewed. It's like I'm copying myself because I just have to keep harping on how much this thing isn't worth the money. It's just like him saying the most common sense stuff and then expecting you to be like, oh my god, I never would have figured out I need to ask questions and update the client on how everything's progressing. I can't. It's too much. It's too much knowledge. Oh my god, my brain. And then your head explodes or something. He's not
He's not filling you in on some secret little technique that he figured out after, studying under a waterfall for 100 years or some crap. he's just some guy. He's just some guy that does very poorly done animation and pretty decent special effects animation. That's it. That's all he is. Jesus, this man has such an ego. He's like, I'm an animation director. I'm an animation teacher. I've won multiple international film awards. You need to come and pay me money to learn how you can also be just like me. I'm like, dude, your character design is straight up garbage. Your backgrounds, they're not really anything to really write home about either. The only thing that he's really got is that sometimes when a character moves, they move pretty okay. But a lot of that just seems to be him just referencing himself. So I can't really attribute that to his like skill. And anyone really that's even remotely okay at animation can just, sketch out two roughly drawn characters with like no hair or expressions, just like fighting each other. That's not particularly difficult. It's just time consuming. That's it. So this guy's he's not worth anything to you. If you're trying to learn animation and you think that Howard Wimshurst is a good person to learn from, just rewatch all the segments about him from this and just tell me, is him charging $300 worth it for the information that you just heard and that you keep hearing? Or does it just sound like a bunch of gobbledygook that he's just trying to like pad out like what could have honestly been a 5-minute video on his stupid YouTube channel? That's all it is.
I've been looking forward to doing this chapter of the course. This is an introduction lesson. I'm going to skip past the first topic that I should be going into, which is, are you someone who should want to transition your career to being a professional animator? I'm just going to assume that you do. I'm going to assume with this chapter that you have your heart set on being a professional freelance animator, or at least starting in the freelance space, maybe then getting an offer to work for a studio and maybe accepting that offer, that's fine. But starting off as a professional freelance animator working full-time in the industry. I'm just going to make the assumption that is you. So from there, you probably have a lot of questions. I'm guessing you have some questions, and I've put 3 of those questions here on the board. I'm guessing that these 3 questions definitely come up among the first questions that you might have with regards to a career transition. So let's start with the first one. How do I transition smoothly? I'm guessing you don't want to incur much risk of just going homeless by transitioning to animation. There's probably a sizable gap between where you are right now, probably in a comfortable job, a job that is probably boring, a job that you do not like, a job that you do not want, but it is a job and a stable job nonetheless. I'm just making that assumption right now. How do I transition out of that job and into an animation job without risking my entire livelihood, without having to step down into poverty to do so? And I'm going to give brief answers as we go to these. So the first thing I would say is that we have a method for this. It's pretty simple. It's not really rocket science, but we have this method called the overlap method. So you can probably guess what the overlap method is, but it's basically holding on to your existing job until you feel confident, until there are signs, meaningful signs, that you can transition safely into the animation job. To go into a little bit more detail of what you can do, because I'm sure the first objection is, how can I be working as a professional animator or be doing the things that a professional animator does that we've outlined in this course while working 5 days a week, which is the majority of your time, the vast majority of your time in my current job? And that is a legitimate question. That is the hurdle we're trying to get over in this chapter. I'd say one of the best things you can do, I'll just say it right here, one of the best things you can do is to try and negotiate, get on good terms with your employer and negotiate a 4-day work week. That is a fantastic move that you can make. You can probably live just fine off of working 4 days a week instead of 5 days, probably. Guessing you don't have that many outgoing expenses. If that extra day is on a Friday or a Monday, that gives you a 3-day stretch, much greater length of time to reach deep focus in your animation work, and that is a fantastic strategic move you can make. Of course, you have to get on good terms with your employer. You probably have to prove yourself, prove your worth, and get some negotiating leverage. Now, instead of asking for that raise, instead of asking for that higher position of authority within that corporate structure, instead negotiate for 4-day work week. That should be your intermediate goal. And the overlap method, we're going to hold on to this job because this job is our island of security. It's our safe spot. We don't want to give that up before we have reached some level of security, of meaningful security in the freelance animation space, okay? And that is going to cause a lot of people problems. That is difficult, guys. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to try and pretend like it's not. That is difficult. And we're going to get into that. Now, when is the right time? That should be the next question that surfaces up from this, I'm guessing. I have built a calculator, a system of calculation to help you with this question. It's not going to give you the ultimate defining goal, that's up to you, but it's going to help you. And I built a runway calculator. Now, this calculator will calculate how many months you can go based on your current savings, your war chest, if you like. How many months can you go without making any money? And the runway calculator will tell you how secure you really are, given your lifestyle choice and the amount of money you're bringing in. How far could you go without making any money, without bringing in anything? So runway calculator is good for assessing your risk. Now, the other thing, the meaningful sign, and this is what I tell people. This is how I tell people, this is the sign you get when you're ready for commercial work. I don't believe any other signs. I don't believe your mom. If your mom tells you you're ready, don't care. If your girlfriend or boyfriend tells you you're ready, I don't care. Okay, if some guy on the internet tells you you're ready, I don't care. This is what you should look for though. If you're getting real commercial offers, which means people are offering you money to work on their commissions, that is significant. That is a significant indicator that you are ready to make that transition happen into freelance animation. And nothing else really. What else could matter? What else makes a difference? That your buddies, that your peers think you're hot with animation, think that your animations are hot? Doesn't make a difference, doesn't matter. It has no currency really. They could just be saying that. They could just be delusional. Money talks. Money tells the truth in a way, I think. I think that money has this way of telling the truth, where other people can lie and deceive you and strategically tell you things, compliment you and things. Money tells the truth. When that money enters your bank account, that's a real indication. That's a real world indication that what you're doing has value. Next question, and this question follows on from the first one, how to transition smoothly. And we talked about the overlap method, working 2 jobs at once, basically. Trying to be a professional animator, or at least prepare yourself for a life of professional animation while working a full-time job. It's tough, right? And how can I find the time to do that? Maybe you just don't have the time, right? You probably don't. You probably feel like you don't have the time. How can I find the time? I'm going to take you through it. I'm going to guide you through it in this chapter. And we do what we call a self-audit. This is where we look through your life and find things that are unnecessary, kind of clear the junk out for a while. And we're not saying goodbye to them permanently. We're just saying for the time being, maybe these things should take a back seat in your priorities. So it's a self-audit, really useful to apply that to yourself. It's very simple. Again, when it's not rocket science, but we need to examine these things closely. And of course, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's not easy. It takes focus and effort. I think applying effort to a lot of different things, that's unfocused. That might not get you there. But if you apply focus and effort, you laser pointed in your goals, you know what to prioritize, these things, this is the way that you can do it. So that on that 3-day weekend that you negotiated with your boss, you spend those 3 days doing the highest priority tasks that really matter. This is how a career transition in your adulthood becomes possible. And you take any of these things out, it becomes very risky endeavor. It becomes something that might not actually materialize. And I want you to materialize this for yourself, and I want to help you on the way there. So that's the introduction to this chapter, making a career transition. I'm really excited to bring you this kind of guidance for this.
The overlap method. Ah, yes. I remember in school that was talking about that. They also talked about the underhand method, which is the method you use to get better grades at school. I'm sure Howard used that one quite a bit. And the overlap method. Oh my God, people paid money for this. Yeah, that's not an actual term. It's not an actual method. He's just kind of like a kid playing dress up, but the only difference is he's not really trying to pretend. He's trying to make you sound. He's trying to make it sound like he's an actual teacher, and I've never heard anyone professionally that is, a professor come up to me and explain to me, have you tried the overlap method? It was created by a very brilliant man called Howard Wimshurst in 2024. He created it. It's a revolutionary. No one ever thought of it before him. Truly, he is the Albert Einstein of animators. No, the overlap method, dude. Why are you trying to add words to stuff that already exists? Like, he's just trying to make it sound much more, I guess, educated than it is. Basically, I guess what you would do is you would start taking commissions, right? Start taking commissions, and then eventually you would build up such a workflow that you wouldn't need to work full time or even part time. I suppose, I don't know. Kind of up to how much work you're getting and at what rate you're getting it. I just think that he's a con artist, and people got suckered into this course because they don't know any better. Okay, I'm not entirely sure Howard's ever actually worked a job or many jobs, at least if he has worked any, because you don't you don't get to negotiate with your boss, at least not here in the U.S. And a lot of countries, you don't negotiate, you don't hash it out with them. There are some places where the boss is lenient, but there are also a lot of other places that just aren't. Some places you just work the schedule you're given, and you have to do, you have to prioritize your work day, your off day around that. You have to animate around that, draw around that. He's under the assumption that everyone's going to switch to the 4-day work week. You can convince your boss by yourself to switch to a 4-day work week, and even have a set schedule. Well, what happens with the people that don't get access to that, Howard? Then this information means nothing, and not to me, it means nothing anyways. But that's besides the point. It just seems like he's just kind of just acting as if everyone has access to a flexible schedule that works on their terms and not the company's. And a lot of the time that's not true. Absolutely phenomenal. What a grand way to explain to people. I never would have thought about all this stuff. Self audit yourself. Look at your bank account and then look at the commissions you have. And then see, if you can live off that for a good bit as you get more commissions. And then focus and effort. Wow. Truly, I never would have, if I hadn't seen this course, I never would have figured out that it takes focus and effort to be a full-time animator. Genius. Truly. He really is the grand master. He's just he's better than me at explaining to people how to make money in animation. Look at this. You can't get this. You can't go. You think you can go to university and figure out that it takes focus and effort to be a full-time animator? Do you? You think they would have given you those little pearls of wisdom? You must be. This is so absolutely stupid. This is such a nothing burger of a course. Every single one of his courses is literally just it's the barest minimum of animation knowledge, and then on top of that is just a load of crap. Just a giant steaming pile of this man floundering about to see how he can make just pad out every single sentence with anything he thinks sounds intellectual. That's it. And people actually pay for it, which is really, really unfortunate, because these people are not going to get money out of this. No one's going to get anything out of this. And he has the audacity to even list in the there's a calculator around in the stupid thing that is basically saying you could look at how much this course on animation business profits. It affects your profits. You can figure out how much I've helped you make more money. I'm like, what delusional, narcissistic way of thinking is this? Jesus, he has to, like, every single moment of his life that you see on the camera, it's just built around what is Howard? What's Howard's life? How's Howard's life doing? How awesome is Howard today? Every time he shows off his body, he's got like 16 stupid those studio tours, like it's that show where you get to see celebrities' houses. He's like, come on in. Let me show you the grand space, and everything else. He even puts in here how his course actually benefits you monetarily, and you can see the investment. This isn't an investment. You just got fleeced. That's all that happened. And I really wish there wasn't a 30-day window before these people could get their refunds back, because that's just money wasted. That's just gone. It's sucked into the ether. Well, actually, it's Howard's pockets. And he'll probably make another one of these, and a lot of other people will be suckered. And I feel bad, because they're not really going to get anything out of it. No, except for a lesser bank account, or the loss of all their savings.
Okay, financial dependence. I think people have trouble with this when it feels a little bit daunting, reaching financial dependence through your creative career when making a transition from your existing job to the career of your dreams. It can feel very daunting to be able to make that level of income and to be able to just jump from making no money in animation to making all of your money in animation. First of all, what I recommend, which you already probably know by this point, is that I recommend that there's a period of time where you are working in your existing job, you haven't quit your job, but you're also working as an animator, and you're trying to offer animation services in one form or another, where you're trying to build out this career, this name for yourself in animation while you have your existing job. Instead of making it just one big jump, I want us to gradually increase our level of financial dependence, and this should help you to understand how you can ease your way into this by setting smaller goals along the way, and it's going to make your job feel much more doable, because you just have to make 10 little steps instead of one big step to making all your money that way. So let's talk about how we can gradually escalate our level of financial dependence using animation, gradually more and more sustainable until you find that you don't need to keep working for your existing job. Okay, so the first little goal, making back the cost of your tools. For example, I have a computer, it's got 64 gigabytes of RAM, it's a nice computer. It doesn't fit this example perfectly because I actually was given this computer by a company that I worked for, but let's imagine that I hadn't been given this computer, this high-end computer, and I had bought it, and it cost me about £1,000. So that's a £1,000 goal. Now, if I accumulate £1,000 through animation on the side, let's say I was in your position and I was working on this job, but I was also doing animation on the side, I was doing little commissions here or there. Let's say I was able to secure £1,000, the same price as my computer. That I would mark off as a goal. Like, I have paid back the cost, the kind of almost the debt I went into for myself in buying these tools that I've paid for. After I've made that money back, I'm at neutral again. And that's really good because I'm not going into any debt within my own finances. Okay, so it's paying off any debts that you already have, any debts that you went into specifically for your animation tools, your hardware, your tablet. How much did you pay for your tablet? How much did you pay for maybe a microphone or speakers? Or I'm just looking at my desk right now and seeing what's on there. So paying back those costs, that any kind of debt you went into to create that, not saying proper financial debt, but money that you stretched yourself to spend on your animation hobby. Second one is to be able to pay regularly and reliably your monthly subscriptions. For example, easy one is Adobe. If you're using Toon Boom, it would be Toon Boom, Harmony, whatever that kind of subscription cost is. I don't know about you, but I have a bunch of subscription fees every month. They're little fees that come out of my bank account every month. Now, for you, it would be a really nice step on your level of financial dependence to be able to reliably pay off all of those monthly subscription costs with your animation money, the money you made from animating, whether that's active, leveraged, or passive income sources. That should be the next goal. That's step number 2, goal number 2. Now, we're going to take quite a significant step up here, and we're going to say the next goal is to be able to cover our rent. So whatever we're paying per month in rent, I'm guessing that you don't have a mortgage yet, but maybe you have a mortgage, in which case it's covering the cost of your mortgage. But if you're just renting, then it's covering any cost of rent. And you could probably predict where this is going. The next one is covering the cost of your living. Cost of living, aka your food and your utility bills, the electricity, the water, anything else you're paying for, covering the cost of living with animation. These are incremental steps, but this is quite a big jump because you're going to be paying a lot more in rent than you do with your subscriptions. And you'll probably, if you're going by my calculations, this might just be because I'm living in the UK right now, we have a big cost of living crisis, but you're probably paying more in cost of living right now than you are paying in rent, a little bit more. So trying to step it up. So each one of these is a bigger task, it's a bigger goal to set, but we start really humble. We're just paying back the cost of your tools. Now this one I really love. This is a fantastic goal to set yourself. 6 months of runway. Now that means if you were to, heaven forbid, if you were to break your arm somehow, get a terrible injury, come down with a bad illness, anything like that, any kind of emergency, I don't know, be framed for murder or something and have to pay for a legal team, 6 months of runway. You have 6 months to not work. Like, you save that up. That's a fund. You work out how much that costs. This is after you've got after you can cover rent, after you can cover cost of living for yourself every month reliably. Then any money on top of that as extra, you are putting in a fund that is all made from animation money. That means that you could last 6 months without doing anything, without lifting a finger. This is a very lofty goal to have, but it's a fantastic one. When you have 6 months of runway in your bank account made from animation money, that's a tremendous achievement. And it will make you feel so safe. It will make you feel so secure. This will really improve your quality of life. I think it's something that everyone should aspire to have. Now, maybe you've already got 6 months of runway with your current job. Like maybe you worked as in finance or something, and you've got 6 months of runway. That's good. But to be able to do that with animation money, by doing commissions, that's an incredible achievement as well. The next one is the same again, but it's 12 months of runway. I think once you've got 6 months runway, that's brilliant. Give yourself a big pat on the back and see if you can get to 12 months of runway. Okay, so it's just double that. It's just double the amount of money that it would take to live off of for 12 months without lifting a finger, without doing anything. You will feel so safe. You will feel like you can sleep at night easily, and everyone deserves that. Everyone should strive for that. But it does take a lot of work. Next one, this is not really as important, but the ability to buy any upgrade you want. And I am talking about upgrades for your business here. So if you need any kind of equipment, if you need anything like that, that's going to make the value proposition to your clients that much greater, you can buy it. And you can buy it and you don't need to worry. It's a really good sign if you're able to buy any upgrade without really breaking a sweat. Another goal you can set yourself is to be able to subcontract artists. Now, actually, this one might not be at home here on the hierarchy, really. You could do this pretty early on, actually, probably before you can cover rent. You could still subcontract certain artists, because with this, you're using the client's money. So you're using the client's budget. Whoever your client is, use their budget and split some of it to subcontract artists. If you're doing that, that's really good, because you're also not only are you saving yourself time and freeing yourself up and expanding the bandwidth or the scope of what you're able to achieve with yourself, but you're also gaining new skill sets in being able to delegate, being able to manage other artists, and those are really important, crucial skill sets if you are going to eventually transcend this, which is what we're getting onto next. The next one is to be able to hire full-time staff. Now, this is one that I have not really dared to do. I still subcontract artists. I don't hire anyone full-time. But imagine if you did. Imagine if you had workers who were just there full-time. Maybe you've got an office space, you've got somewhere that you're paying for, a really nice communal space, and you've got them on a payroll. And so they are your assistants. They make sure that even if you're not working, the project is moving ahead and the project is working and moving, and you're able to step back from the controls. That's a big one. We're getting into new territory here. We're getting into something that's beyond financial independence. Or financial dependence. I don't know. I put financial dependence there. Yeah, I don't really have more beyond this point. Like, it starts to get a little bit vague because you've basically made it. Like, you made it when you got yourself 6 months of runway and you're covering your cost of living and you're covering rent. Like, you already made it. These are just extra little goals here. I didn't really need to go this far, but whatever. Retire? You could just take a little mini retirement. Now, I haven't really done these in a strict order as such, but they're just to give you an idea of where you can prioritize these things. I don't think you should retire early on. Like, I think you should retire way later once you've really proven yourself and you've made loads and loads of money. But it's just a fun joke. So for example, right now I can choose whether or not I should take on a client. I don't necessarily need to take on the client. I've got different forms of active, leveraged, and passive income streams. This course being one of the leveraged income streams, or even passive if I manage to rank it in Google search. And therefore, I can choose whether to take on a client. I get clients contacting me, and for a significant stretch of time, I've just been saying no to all of the clients. I've just decided I don't want to. I want to focus on teaching, and I want to focus on my film, my original film. And you can do that kind of thing once you've got all your ducks in a row, once you've really made a decent amount, and you're fine. And now, I will be honest, most of the reason I've been able to do that has been from my passive and my leveraged income streams, okay? So it's not entirely from freelancing. So this, if you were to do this strictly and only do active income streams, I think you would have to be very good. Like, you would probably be world class at animation if you managed to go all the way up and do all of these steps just from active income streams. There are people who do it, and they typically, what they do is once they get to a certain level, they form a studio and they make a full-time studio, and they make it into a bigger thing where they're the head of the studio, but they might not be drawing the individual keyframes, okay? But this is, in that point, it turns into a rocket ship, and there really is no telling beyond that point how you're going to do financially. But it starts here. It starts with really humble things, just setting that as a goal. Work out how much you've spent on animation equipment. Maybe you bought TV paint, which is like 500 euros. Okay, so your goal is like, I'd like to be able to make 500 euros because that's how much I spend on my animation software. That's a really nice little goal to set yourself, and it's one little step on your way to achieving financial independence and to be able to quit your job. Now, where in these steps would you say it is appropriate to actually be able to quit your existing job? Because we're assuming right now that you're looking ahead into the future, and that right now you still have your current job and you're doing animation as a hobby. I would say it's there. Pretty simple, really, because these get pretty aspirational once we go after this half, right? So this point, just after cost of living, once you are able to reliably pay your rent and your subscriptions and your cost of living with animation money, you're not having to do it with your current job, at that point, you can say goodbye to your job and you can quit your job and do animation full time. Now, something to consider with this is that if you have been doing animation part-time, you're going to love it when you go full time, because it will be like you've been driving with the handbrake on the whole time. Everything you've been doing has been handicapped because you're doing it on weekends, you're doing it at the end of the day when you're tired. When you take your animation job full time, you will have at least double the amount of free working hours in a week. And you can take that into account. Depending on how risky you are, you might not want to wait until this point to do it. If you've built up a little bit of runway, why should you wait until you can cover all of this doing it? Because essentially you're going to, with a bit of runway, if you were to quit your existing job early, you can work with such focus on being able to achieve this that it becomes worth it and it frees you up. And honestly, this is a pretty tall order to be able to get this far, to be able to cover your cost of living, cover rent, cover subscriptions, make back the cost of any tools you spent. To do that all whilst working a full-time job in a different field, that is a big, tall order that I don't expect many people to really have the will to do. And so that's where runway can really help you, because runway can mean, or maybe you're here, or maybe you're here. Okay, so you're not able to cover rent, you're not able to cover cost of living, but with a little war chest of money stashed away, you're able to cover rent, you're able to cover cost of living until you can make enough to cover those with animation money. So having a war chest, some would say it's essential for actually getting yourself to go up this financial independence ladder. So that's my way of breaking it down into more manageable steps, just so it's not too overwhelming. I will end the video there. I hope that was helpful.
God, this might honestly be the stupidest one. Okay, so the financial dependence. The making the tools back, the cost of the tools, like your tablet and the computer and all that stuff. That's whatever. That essentially any money you get from any commission you get at any span of time is going to go back to paying for those materials. Okay, that's literally nothing. This is such it's really just a nothing burger, because this is all basic. This is basic stuff. Who wouldn't have been able to think about this? Yeah, if I'm a full-time animator, I would theoretically have to be able to eat and sleep and drink through my animation commissions. You know, this isn't, we're not talking about rocket science. I can't believe he devoted like the entirety of it's like 18 flipping minutes to just going over the most bare bones, like 5-minute think tank study about how what you would need to do to be financially dependent from any job. You know, like I'd have to pay off my monthly subscriptions to my art software. I use credit. You can just use credit. It's free. Blender, also free. I need to be able to cover rent and cover the, the amount I need to like stuff in my mouth the entire month to continue living and making animations. Like, no doubt. The 6-month runway, the 12-month runway, and the buy any upgrade are just kind of like whatever. They're just kind of extra padding. Look, if you're to the point where you're making or an entire year's worth of like cushion, that I honestly, you're doing pretty good, and at that point you must be you're either a very specific type of artist, or you work for a company as like a director or something, or you can be Howard. You can fleece people using really bullcrap courses that are severely overcharged. You can do that too, which is probably what he made this entire thing off of. Buy any upgrade. Well, it is always nice to be able to upgrade things, but that basically goes along with the make the cost back of the tools. And then the subcontracting artists. Again, if you're subcontracting or even like hiring full-time artists, you're like in charge of like a company. You're not just some rinky-dinky little commissioner who just gets the $250 per commission. Like you're an actual, like, you need to like you're getting like investors or something. You're like Vivzy Pop or like Glitch, productions, and then retire. I love the question mark. Like that basically sums up the entirety of this course. It's just a big old question mark, as in, what is this gaining for people? I mean, honestly, who honestly looked at this smuck with that little goatee and mustache and thought, yeah, this guy's gonna take me places. Like, oh my god. And to basically end this off, there's also a section referred to as like writing contracts. You, as someone making your own show or doing commissions, you might not need a contract. You could sign one if given a job by a company. But I don't really think Howard understands contracts. Okay, firstly, he is a resident of the UK, or I guess Austria. No. It's very difficult to make a contract legally binding internationally. You would first need an attorney versed in international affairs, and they're expensive. So, like here in the U.S., you would have a very hard time as one person enforcing your own legal representation because you accrue attorney's fees in court, regardless of who wins the case, unless specified other ways. If the lawyer says, I'm going to go pro bono or whatever, or you don't pay me unless we win, and then you have to win, and it's kind of hard to do that if you're just one guy suing someone from like London or whatever because they were using, you had some dispute with them. Essentially, you have a contract that it can't be enforced. You can't do anything with it. So making people sign them as as that person abroad, it doesn't really do anything. Now, if they're in your country, I suppose that's different. But again, if you're just taking commission works, you don't need to make people sign contracts. Unless you copyright every animation you've ever done, you have no need for a cease and desist letter. He also has those in there, so cease and desist. I mean, even if you did, again, you would have to, you'd have to front the money for the legal battle. At least here in the States. If people steal your animations and write off as their own, you can just use YouTube's copyright system or report the animation on whatever site it happens to be, because most sites have that option. And then he also shows off invoices, but again, you could literally just get those from anywhere. Invoices are not hard to get. And non-compete agreements he also has those in there. I really can't stress this enough. Okay, for one thing, they're banned in the U.S. Last I checked. They were banned a little bit ago. And non-compete agreements are absolutely 100% without a doubt really scummy business practice. So if you're an artist and you've got artists working under you that you pay full time and you make them sign a non-compete agreement, you're kind of a tool. And if Howard does that, that makes him a tool too. I don't know why he includes in business documents a cease and desist letter and non-compete. It literally makes no sense. A non-compete is basically just where like you are not allowed, let's say you work under Howard as a full-time artist, you're not allowed to go to another animation company, if you can even call what he does as a company. You're not allowed to go to them and basically work for them. That would be infringing. Or you could be taking company secrets to your other job, which I don't know how on earth you would be able to do that with animation unless you're like just cloning your work in the rough staging phase and then just overlapping that with the character from the series you're currently working on to another series. But that situation is so absolutely like it's so like 1 in a million chance of happening. I don't really see the point in it. The business section is really not. There's like 2 things in it, I guess, that's like even useful, and the main thing is the invoice. But then again, you can just get that from anywhere, and it doesn't. This whole course is just like the previous course I had already reviewed. You just go. He's going through the motions. He's like, I really have to pad this out. I really have to make sure people think that they're going to get their money's worth. I'm just going to start throwing stuff at a board and just, seeing what I can get people to think is really helpful advice when it's just bog standard stuff you could yourself already figured out with like an hour and a piece of paper and a pencil, and like you'd still have an extra $295, or I guess in this case around like $495 to like spend on art supplies or upgrades or any other crap you mentioned in there. Hiring a full-time artist, hiring a subcontracted artist with a non-compete agreement. It's just, he's just really trying to bleed his audience dry, and you can tell, like every time he goes up, he's like, if you like what I do, we can work together to make the videos that I profit off of. He's just greedy, and he shows it as much in the videos that he makes. The lack of effort that he puts into stuff, the fact that he's got like all these lessons and quizzes and tests that are just, there's no meat on them. It's all just a bunch of foam wrapped around lectures that could honestly just be he could literally make all these YouTube videos, and they would be, I guess, not really like more beneficial to people, but I guess slightly more beneficial. Because again, he doesn't talk about much. Like, you've seen, this is the breadth of the conversation that happens. Like everything that I've shown you from this review, that's it. You're not going to get any more out of it, especially if from the stuff that I think he's still got locked behind a paywall, because now he doesn't want people to be able to get access to the entire course, even though people pay him the entirety of the course when they give it to him up front, and he doesn't say that in the the payment options, which is really scummy. Like, he's just gatekeeping half of the content just because he doesn't want people to I guess scam him as he's scamming them. But if people want to go with Howard Wimshurst and they really like his work, if you really think, if everything you've seen that he's talked about, that he's shown here, if you think that that's the price point of $500, because this isn't all of it, there's much more to it than what I've shown. But if you think that everything you've seen here as the culmination of a business course at any college or anything, if you think that that's worth it, please, by all means, spend money on it. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. I'm just saying it's not that good of an idea. But that's for people to decide themselves. I would just like to say, everyone, thanks if you've gotten this far for watching the video. I'm sorry for the stammering, sorry for the stuttering. I don't write scripts. But thank you. Like, dislike, I don't care. Comment, leave a nasty message about how I'm just a hater for Howard. If you feel free to do that, by all means.